to them. "Just don't."
"All right."
Instead, he lifted her hands to his lips, pressed them lightly to the knuckle of each finger, and watched confusion join the clouds in her eyes. "What are you looking for, Noah?" He kept his eyes on hers, opened her fisted hand to press his lips to the center of her palm.
"I've already found it. You just have to catch up."
He was afraid there was only one way for that to begin.
"Let's sit down, Liv. This is a good spot. It's a good time."
He shrugged off his pack, sat on a rock, and opened it to find his tape recorder. Seeing it in his hand, she felt her breath go thick and hot in her lungs. "I don't know how to do this."
"I do. I want to tell you something first."
He set the recorder beside him, then hunted out his notepad.
"I considered giving up the idea of this book, setting it aside as I did when I hurt you before."
He opened the notebook, then looked at her.
"It wouldn't have done any good this time around. It would have been in the back of my mind, always, just as it would be in the back of yours. I can't quite figure out, Liv, if that's standing between us or if it's why we're here together, why we've come back together after all this time, why we're lovers now. But I do know that if we don't finish it, we'll keep running in place. I need to go forward. So do you."
"I said I'd do it. I keep my word."
"And hate me for it? Blame me for being the one who brought it to the surface, just the way you hated me that day in the hotel?"
"You lied to me."
"I know I did. I've never been sorrier for anything in my life."
She'd expected him to deny it, to make excuses, rationalize, and she should have known better. He was a man with honor, one who'd been raised with it, and with compassion. It was why what he did mattered, she thought now, why he mattered. "I don't hate you, Noah, and I won't hate you for being honest about doing what you feel you need to do. But what I do feel is my own business."
"Not anymore, it isn't."
He said it lightly, but she heard the undercoating of steel in the tone.
"But we can talk about that, about us, later."
"There is no us."
"Think again."
This time the steel was in his eyes.
"But for now, why don't you sit down?"
"I don't need to sit." But she dragged off her pack, uncapped her water bottle.
"Fine. Tell me about your mother."
"I was 4 when she died. You'd learn more about her from other sources."
"When you remember her, what do you think of first?"
"Her scent. The scent she kept in one of her bottles on her vanity. I thought they were magic. There was one in cobalt with a silver band winding around it. It was something unique to her, warm, lightly sweet with a faint hint of jasmine. Her skin always carried that scent, and when she'd hug me or pick me up, it was strongest just—" Olivia touched her fingers to her own throat, just under the jaw. "I liked to sniff her there, and she'd laugh. She was so beautiful." Her voice thickened as she turned away to stare out over the sea of flowers. "You can't know, really. I've seen her movies now, all of them, countless times. But she was so much more beautiful than they could capture. She moved like a dancer, as if gravity were simply something she tolerated. I know she was a brilliant actress, but she was a wonderful mother, patient and fun and careful to be there, to pay attention, to let me know that whatever else there was, I was the center of the world. Do you understand that?"
"Yes, I was lucky in that area too."
She gave in and sat beside him. "I suppose I was spoiled. I had time and attention and a house full of toys and indulgences."
"To me, the only spoiled children are the ones who have no appreciation or respect for those things. I'd say you were just loved."
She loved me very much. I never had any cause to doubt that, even when she scolded me about something, and I adored her. I wanted to be exactly like her. I used to look at myself in the mirror and imagine how I would grow up to be just like Mama.
"You look very much like her."
"I don't." She pushed off the rock in one sharp movement. "I'm not beautiful. I don't want to be, and I'll never be judged on my looks as she was, too often was. That's what killed her. In this fairy tale, the beast killed the beauty."
"Because she was beautiful?"
"Yes. Because she was desirable, because men wanted her and he couldn't stand that. He couldn't tolerate the very thing that had drawn him to her in the first place. her face, her body, her manner. If it appealed to him, it appealed to other men, and there would be no other men. The one way he could keep her only to himself was to destroy her. No matter how much she loved him, it wasn't enough.
Did she love him?
She cried for him. She didn't think I knew, but I did. I heard her one night with Aunt Jamie after I was supposed to be in bed, earlier that summer when it stayed light until late. They were in Mama's room, and I could see from where I stood beside the door, in the mirror, the reflection of them as they sat on the bed, my mother crying, and Aunt Jamie with her arms around her. And just like that, she took both of them back. "What will I do, Jamie? What will I do without him?"
"You'll be fine, Julie. You'll get through this."
"It hurts."
Julie turned her face into Jamie's shoulder, felt the sturdiness, longed for it.
"I don't want to lose him, to lose everything we have together, but I just don't know how to keep it."
"You know you can't keep going on the way you have been these last few months, Jule."
Jamie eased back to brush the deep gold hair from her sister's face.
"He's hurt you, not just your heart, but you. I can't sit by when I see bruises on you that he put there."
"He doesn't mean it."
Julie rubbed her hands over her face, drying the tears as she rose.
"It's the drugs. They change him. I don't understand why he started them again. I don't know what he finds in them that I haven't given him."
"Listen to yourself." A whip of anger in her voice, Jamie pushed to her feet. "Are you taking the blame for this? For him finding his kicks and his ego in cocaine and pills and alcohol?"
No, but if I could just understand what's missing, what he's looking for that isn't there. Oh, God." She squeezed her eyes tight and raked back her hair. "We were so happy, Jamie. You know we were happy. We were everything to each other. And when Livy came, it was like a circle completed. Why didn't I notice when he started to crack? That circle. How wide was the gap before I saw what was happening? I want to go back. I want my husband back. Jamie," she turned around, one hand pressed to her belly, "I want another child."
"Oh, God! Oh, Julie!"
She was across the room, wrapped around her sister in 2 strides.
"Don't you see what a mistake that would be now? Just now?"
"Maybe it is, but maybe it's the answer. I told him tonight. I had Rosa fix us this wonderful dinner, candles and music and champagne, and I told him I wanted us to have another child. He was so happy at first, so much like Sam. We laughed and held each other and started thinking up names just as we did for Livy. Then all at once, all of a sudden, he got moody and distant, and he said—"
The tears began to stream again.
"He said, how did he know it would be his? How did he know I wasn't already carrying Lucas's bastard?"
"That son of a bitch! How dare he say such a thing to you?"
"I hit him. I didn't think. I just struck out and shouted at him to get out, get the hell out. And he did. He stared right through me and he left. I don't know what to do."
She sat on the bed again, covered her face with her hands, and wept.
"I don't know what to do."
Noah said nothing, as Olivia stood as she was, one hand still covering her stomach as her mother's had. She'd taken him back, taken him there into the intimacy of that bedroom, into the female misery and despair, the words, the voices, the movements flowing out of her. Now, without looking at him, she dropped her hand.
"I went back to my room, and I told myself Mama was rehearsing. She did that a lot. So I told myself Mama was being a movie, that she wasn't talking about my father. I went to sleep. And later that night I woke up and he was in my room. He'd turned on my music box, and I was so happy. I asked him to tell me a story."
Her eyes cleared when she focused on Noah again.
"He was high. I didn't know it then. I only knew he was angry when he shouted and he broke my music box. I only knew he wasn't the way Daddy was when my mother came rushing in, and he hurt her. I hid in the closet. I hid while she cried and fought with him and locked him out of the room. Then she came and sat with me and told me everything would be all right. She called the police on my little phone, and she filed for divorce. It took him less than 4 months to come back and kill her." Noah turned off his recorder, slid off the rock, and walked to her. In automatic defense, she stepped back. "No, I don't want to be held. I don't want to be comforted."
"Tough luck, then."
He wrapped his arms around her, holding firm when she struggled.
"Lean a little," he murmured. "It won't hurt."
"I don't need you," she said it fiercely.
"Lean anyway."
She held herself stiff another moment, then went limp. Her head rested on his shoulders, and her arms came up to wrap loosely around his waist. She leaned a little, but she kept her eyes open, and she didn't weep. 29. Noah asked questions on the hike back to camp, dozens of them, but he didn't mention her parents. He asked about her work, her routines, the center, and the lodge. She recognized what he was doing and couldn't decide if she resented or appreciated his deliberate attempt to put her at ease again, couldn't quite fathom why it worked so well. Every time she put up a barrier, he wiggled around it and made her comfortable again. It was a skill she had to admire. And when they stopped again, to look again, she found herself sitting shoulder to shoulder with him as if she'd known him all her life. She supposed in some odd way she had.
"Okay, so we build the house right up there."
He gestured behind him to a rocky incline. "I told you, this is public land."
"Work with me here, Liv. We put it up there with big windows looking out this way so we catch the sunset at night."
"That'd be tough, since that's south."
"Oh, you sure?"
She gave him a bland look with humor ghosting around her mouth. "West," she said, and pointed.
"Fine. So the living room faces that way. We need a big stone fireplace in there. I think we should keep it open. Really high ceilings with like a balcony deal. No closed spaces. 4 bedrooms.
4?
Sure. You want the kids to have their own rooms, don't you? 5 bedrooms, he corrected, enjoying the way her eyes widened. 1 for a guest room. Then I need office space. Good-sized room. Lots of shelves and windows. That should face east. Where do you want your office?"
"I have an office."
"You need a home office, too. You're a professional woman. I think it should be next to mine, but we'll have to have rules about respecting each other's space. We'll put them on the 3rd floor."
His fingers linked with hers.
"That'll be our territory. Kids' play area should be on the main level with windows looking into the forest so they never feel closed in. What do you think about an indoor pool?"
"I wouldn't consider a home without one." He grinned, then caught her off balance by leaning in, capturing her mouth in a long, hard kiss.
"Good. The house should be stone and wood, don't you think?"
His hand was in her hair, just toying with the ends. "This is hardly the spot for vinyl siding."
"We'll plant the garden together."
His teeth scraped lightly over her bottom lip.
"Kiss me back, Olivia. Slide in, just once."
She already was. Couldn't do otherwise. The picture he painted was so soft, so dreamy, she glided inside it, and found him surprisingly solid and real, and there. The sound she made was equal parts despair and delight as her arms locked tight around him. How could it be he who snapped it all into place, who made it all fit, all the misty wishes of childhood, all the half-formed fantasies of a young girl, all the darker needs of a woman swirled together inside her and reformed into just one question? He was the answer. Rocked by the tumble of her own heart, she jerked back. She couldn't let it happen, not with him, not with anyone. "We have to get started." There was fear in her eyes. He wasn't quite sure how he felt about being the one to cause it.
"Why are you so sure I'll hurt you again?"
"I'm not sure of anything when it comes to you, and I don't like it. We need to go. There's more than an hour left to hike before we hit camp."
"Time's not the problem here. So why don't we—"
He broke off as a movement behind her caught his eye. He shifted his gaze, focused, and felt the blood drain out of his head.
"Jesus Christ. Don't move."
She smelled it now, the wild and dangerous scent. Her heart slammed once against her ribs, and before she could get to her feet, Noah was springing up to put himself between her and the cougar. It was a full-grown male, perched on the rocks just above, with his eyes glinting in the sunlight. Now he shifted, let out a low, guttural growl, and flashed teeth. "Keep your eyes on his," Olivia instructed as she rose. "Don't run." Noah already had his hand on the hilt of his knife. He had no intention of running. "Go!" He bared his own teeth and shifted when Olivia tried to step out from behind him. "Start moving back down the trail." "That's exactly right." She kept her voice calm. "No sudden moves, no fleeing motions. We just ease back, give him room. He's got the advantage, higher ground, and he's showing aggressive behavior. Don't take your eyes off him. Don't turn your back." "I said go." It took every ounce of willpower not to turn around and shove her down the trail. One thin stream of sweat trickled down his back. "He must have a kill near here. He's just trying to protect it." She bent, keeping her eyes on the cats, and scooped up 2 rocks. "Back away. We just back away." The cat hissed again, and his ears went back flat. "Yell!" Olivia ordered, continuing the backward motion even as she winged the first rock. It struck the cougar sharply on the side. She continued to shout, heaved the second rock. The cat spit furiously, swiped at the air, and as Noah drew the knife from his belt, slunk away. Noah continued to move slowly, kept Olivia behind him, scanning rock and brush. "Are you all right?" "Stupid! Just plain stupid!" She tore her cap off, kicked at a rock. "Sitting there necking as if we were in the back seat of a Buick. I wasn't paying attention. What the hell is wrong with me?" Furious with herself, she pulled the cap back on, wiped her sweaty palms on her thighs. "I know better than that. Sightings of cougars are rare, but they happen. So do attacks, especially if you're just an idiot." She pressed her hands to her eyes, rubbed hard. "I wasn't looking for signs. I wasn't even looking. And then, sitting there that way without keeping alert. I'd fire any one of my guides for that kind of careless behavior." "Okay, you're fired." He'd yet to sheath his knife and remained braced. "Let's just keep moving." "He's not bothered with us now." She blew out a breath. "He was protecting a kill, doing what he's meant to do. We're the intruders here." "Fine. I guess we'll build a house somewhere else." She opened her mouth, shut it, then shocked herself by laughing. "You're a moron, Noah. I almost got you killed, or certainly maimed. What the hell were you going to do with that, city boy?" She swiped a hand over her face and tried to choke back a giggle as she eyed his knife. He turned the knife in his hand, considering the blade. "Protect the women folk?" She snorted out another laugh, shook her head. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's not funny. This must be a reaction to gross stupidity. I've seen cougar a few times, but never that close up, and I've always been on higher ground." She blew out another breath, relieved that her stomach was settling down from its active jumping, and that's when she noticed his hands were rock steady. He hadn't so much as flinched, she realized. Wasn't that amazing? "You handled yourself." "Gee, thanks, Coach." He slid the knife away. "No." Calm again, she laid a hand on his arm. "You really handled yourself. I wouldn't have expected it. I keep underestimating you, Noah. I keep trying to fit you into a slot, and you won't go." "Maybe you just haven't found the right slot yet." "Maybe. But I don't think you fit into anything unless you want to." "And what about you? Where do you want to fit, Liv?" "I'm where I want to be." "Not the place, Liv. We're not talking about forest or ocean here." "I'm where I want to be," she repeated, or where, she admitted, she thought she wanted to be. "I have work that matters and a life that suits me." "And how much room is there in your slot?" She looked at him, then away again. "I don't know. I haven't had to make any." "Get ready to," was all he said. Neither of them was sure if it was a command or a suggestion. He offered to try his hand at fishing, but she pointed out he didn't have a license and shot that down. Accepting that, he insisted on making soup instead and entertained her with stories of childhood adventures with Mike. "He decides rollerblading is a way to get chicks." Noah sampled the soup, decided it could have been worse.
Coordination isn't Mike's strong point, but at 16, a guy's brain is really just one big throbbing gland, so he blows most of his savings on the blades. I figure, what the hell? Maybe he's onto something, and get myself a pair, too. We head to Venice to try out his theory." He paused, poured them both more wine. The light was still strong, the air wonderfully cool. "The place is lousy with girls. Tall ones, short ones, wearing tiny little shorts. You gotta cruise first, scope things out. I home in on this little blonde in one of the girl packs." Olivia choked. "Girl packs?" "Come on, your species always travels in packs. Law of the land. I'm working out how to color out of the herd while we strap on the blades. Then Mike gets up on his feet for about 3 seconds before his feet go out from under him. He pinwheels his arms, knocks this guy skating by in the face. They both go down like redwoods. Mike smacks his head on the bench and knocks himself out cold. By the time he comes to, I've lost the blonde and end up taking Mike to the ER, where he had a standing appointment."
"A little accident-prone?"
"He could hurt himself in his sleep."
"You love him."
"I guess I do."
And because there'd been something wistful in her statement, he studied her face.
"Who'd you hang with when you were a kid?"
"No one. There were a few before I moved up here, but after, sometimes I'd play with kids at the lodge or campground, but they came and went. I don't have any lasting attachments like your Mike. He's doing all right now?"
"Yeah, he bounces."
"Did they ever find the person who broke into your house and hurt him?"
"No. Maybe it's better that way. I'm not sure what I'd do if I got my hands on her. She could have killed him. Anything I could do to her wouldn't be enough."
There was a dark side here, a latent violence she could see in his eyes. She'd had glimpses of it once or twice before. Oddly enough, it didn't make her uneasy, as hints of violence always did. It made her feel safe, she supposed, and wondered why. "Anything you could do wouldn't change what already happened."
"No."
He relaxed again.
"But I'd like to know why. Knowing why matters. Don't you need to know why, Olivia?"
She took his empty bowl and hers, then rose. "I'll wash these." She started toward the stream, hesitated. Yes, I need to know why." While she washed the bowls, Noah took out his tape recorder, snapped in a fresh tape. He had his notepad and pencil ready when she came back. He saw the stress. It showed in the way her color faded to a delicate ivory.
"Sit down."
He said it gently.
"And tell me about your father."
"I don't remember that much about him. I haven't seen him for 20 years. Noah said nothing. He could have pointed out that she remembered her mother very clearly. "He was very handsome," Olivia said at length. "They looked beautiful together. I remember how they'd dress up for parties and how I thought everyone's parents were beautiful and had beautiful clothes and went out to parties, had their pictures in magazines and on TV. It just seemed so natural, so normal. They seemed so natural together. They loved each other. I know that." She spoke slowly now, a line of concentration between her elegant dark brows. "They loved me. I can't be wrong about that. In their movie together, they just shimmered with what they felt for each other. It radiates from them. I remember how it did that, how they did that, whenever they were in the same room. Until it started to change."
"How did it change?"
"Anger, mistrust, jealousy. I wouldn't have had words for it then, but that shimmer was smudged somehow. They fought late at night at first. I'd hear not the words so much, but the voices, the tone of them, and it made me feel sick." She lifted her glass, steadied herself. "Sometimes I could hear him pacing the hall outside, saying lines or reciting poetry. Later I read some article on him where he said he often recited poetry to help him calm down before an important scene. He suffered from stage fright. Funny, isn't it? He always seemed so confident. I think he must have used this same sort of method to calm himself down when they were fighting, pacing the hall, reciting poetry. For man to man so oft unjust is always so to women. One sole bond awaits them. Treachery is all their trust." She sighed once. "That's Byron."
"Yes, I know."
She smiled again, but her eyes were so horribly sad. "You read poetry, Brady?"
I was a journalism major. I read everything.
He feathered his fingers along her cheek.
Gives sorrow words. The grief that does not speak whispers the o'er-fraught heart and bids it break.
It touched her. With or without words, my heart survived. It's my mother's heart that was broken, and she who didn't survive what he wanted from her or needed. And I haven't spoken of it to anyone except Aunt Jamie, and then only rarely. I don't know what to say now. He'd pick me up. Her voice cracked, but she tried to control herself. In one fast swoop, so that my stomach would stay on my feet for a minute. It's a delicious feeling when you're a child. Livy, my love, he'd call me, and dance with me around the living room, the room where he killed her. And when he'd hold me, I'd feel so safe. When he'd come in to tell me a story, he told such wonderful stories, I'd feel so happy. I was his princess, he'd say. And whenever he had to go away to a shoot, I'd miss him so much my heart would hurt.
She pressed a hand to her mouth, as if to hold in the words and the pain, then made herself drop it.
That night when he came into my room and broke the music box and shouted at me, it was as if someone had stolen my father, taken him away. It was never, ever the same after that night. That whole summer I waited for him to come back, for everything to be the way it was. But he never did. Never. The monster came.
Her breath caught, 2 quick inward gasps, and her hand shook, spilling wine. Instinctively, Noah snagged the glass before it slipped out of her fingers. Even as he said her name, she pressed both fists to her rampaging heart.
I can't.
She barely managed to get the words out. Her eyes were huge with pain and shock, and staring blindly into his.
I can't.
It's all right. Okay. He dropped his pad, the glass, everything, and wrapped his arms around her. Her hands were trapped between them, but he could feel her heart race. He could feel the sharp whiplash shudders that racked her. Don't do this to yourself. Don't. Let go. If you don't let go, you'll break to pieces.
I can still see it. I can still see it. Him kneeling beside her, the blood and broken glass, the scissors in his hand. He said my name. He said my name in my father's voice. I'd heard her scream. I'd heard it. Her scream, breaking glass. That's what woke me up. But I went into her room and played with her bottles. I was playing in her room when he was killing her. And I ran away and never saw her again. They never let me see her again.
There was nothing he could say. There was no comfort in words. He held her, stroking her hair while the sun left the sky and sent the light to gloaming.
I never saw either of them again. We never talked of them in our house. My grandmother locked them in a chest in the attic to save her heart, and I spoke of her secretly to Aunt Jamie and felt like a thief for stealing the pieces of my mother she could give me. I hated him for that, for making me have to steal my mother back in secret whispers. I wanted him to die in prison, alone and forgotten. But he's still alive, and I still remember.
He pressed his lips to her hair, rocking her as she wept. The hot tears dampening his shirt relieved him. However much they cost her to shed, she'd be better for them. He swung her legs over, drawing her into his lap to cradle her there like a child until she went lax and silent. Her head ached like a fresh wound, and her eyes burned. The fatigue was suddenly so great she would have stumbled into sleep if she hadn't held herself back, but the raw churning in her stomach had ceased, and the agonizing pressure in her chest was gone. Tired and embarrassed, she pulled back from him.
I need some water.
I'll get it. He shifted her aside to get up and fetch a bottle. When he came back, he crouched in front of her, then brushed a tear from her cheek with his thumb. You look worn out.
I never cry. It's useless.
She uncapped the bottle, drank deep to ease her dry throat.
The last time I cried was because of you.
I'm sorry.
I was so hurt and angry when I found out why you'd really come. After I made you leave, I cried for the first time since I was a child. You had no idea what I'd let myself feel about you in those 2 days.
Yes, I did, he murmured. It scared me. Nearly as much as what I felt for you scared me.
When she started to get up, he simply planted his hands on her thighs, locked his gaze to hers, and held her in place.
What? You don't want to hear about it?
It was a long time ago.
Not so long, but maybe just long enough. It's a good thing you booted me out, Liv. We were both too young for what I wanted from you then. Both parts of what I wanted.
You're getting your book now, she said evenly, and we're acting on the attraction, so I guess we're both finally grown up. He moved fast, stunning her when he dragged her to her feet, nearly lifted her off them. His eyes had gone sharp, like the keen edge of a blade.
You think all I want from you is the book and sex? God damn it, is that what you think, or is that what you choose to think? That way you don't have to give too much back or take any real risks.
You think bearing my soul to you about my parents isn't a risk? She shoved him back, hard. You think knowing anyone with the price and the interest will buy my memories and feelings isn't a risk?
Then why are you doing it?
Because it's time. She pushed her hair back from her damp cheeks. You were right about that. Does that satisfy you? You were right. I need to say it, to get it out, and maybe somewhere in your damn book I'll see why it had to happen. Then I can bury them both.
Okay.
He nodded.
That covers that part. What about the rest? What about you and me?
What about it? She shot back. We had a few sparks some years ago and decided to act on them now.
And that's it for you. A few sparks.
She stepped back as he moved in. Don't crowd me.
I haven't even started crowding you. That's your problem, Liv. Never letting anyone get quite close enough to share your space. I want your body. Fine if you're in the mood, but everything else is off limits. That doesn't work for me. Not with you.
That's your problem.
Damn right.
He grabbed her arm, spinning her back when she turned.
And it's yours, too. I have feelings for you.
He released her abruptly to pace away, to stand all but vibrating with frustration on the bank of the stream. The light was gone now, so the low fire flickered gold, and the first shimmer of the rising moon shifted through the trees.
Do you think this is a snap for me?
He said wearily.
Because I've had other women in my life, it's a breeze for me to deal with the only one who's ever mattered?
He turned back. She stood where he'd left her, but had lifted her arms to cross them defensively around her. Those delicate fingers of moonlight shivered over her, pale silver.
Olivia, the first time I saw you, you were a baby. Something about you reached right out, so much more than that sad image on the television screen, and grabbed me. It's never let go. I didn't see you again until you were 12, gangly and brave and all haunted eyes. There was a connection. There was nothing sexual about it.
He started back toward her, watched her shift slightly as if to brace.
I never forgot you. You were in and out of my head. Then you were 19. You opened the door of your apartment, and there you were, tall and slender and lovely. A little distracted, a little impatient. Then your eyes cleared. God, I've had your eyes in my head as long as I can remember. And you smiled at me and cut me off at the knees. I've never been the same.
He stopped a foot away from her and saw she was trembling.
I've never been the same.
Her skin was shivering, her heart beating too fast. You're fantasizing, Noah. You're letting your imagination run wild.
I did plenty of fantasizing about you.
He was calm now, certain because he could see her nerves.
But it didn't come close. I did some compensating, too, but there was never a woman who pulled at me the way you do, straight from the gut. I know I hurt you. I didn't understand you or myself well enough then. Even when I came here and saw you again, I didn't understand it. I just knew seeing you thrilled me. I've never gotten over you. Do you know what it was like to realize I'd never gotten over you?
Panic wanted to rise, taunted her to run. Pride had her standing her ground. You're mixing things up, Noah.
No, I'm not.
He reached up, touched her face, then framed it in his hands.
Look at me, Liv. Look. There's one thing I'm absolutely clear on. I'm so completely in love with you.
A messy mix of joy and terror clogged her throat. I don't want you to be.
I know.
He touched his lips gently to hers.
It scares you.
I don't want this. She gripped his wrists. "I won't give you what you're looking for."
You are what I'm looking for, and I've already found you. Next step is to figure out what you want and what you're looking for.
I told you, I already have everything I want in my life.
If that were true, I wouldn't scare you. I'm going to build a life with you, Olivia. I've been waiting to start and didn't even know it. It's only fair I give you time to catch up.
I'm not interested in marriage.
I haven't asked you yet, he pointed out, and his lips parted as they covered hers again. But I'll get to that. Meanwhile, just tell me one thing.
He cruised into the kiss so that they could both float on it.
Is what you're feeling for me just a few sparks?
It was warmth she felt, a steady stream of it, and a longing so deep, so aching, it beat like a heart. I don't know what I feel.
Good answer. Let me love you.
He walked her backward toward the tent, muddling her brain with hands and lips,
and we'll see if the answer changes.
He was patient and thorough, and showed her what it was to be touched by a man who loved her. Each time she tried to hold back, he would simply find a new way to slide through her defenses, to fill a heart reluctant to be filled, to steal a heart determined not to be taken. When he moved inside her, slow and smooth and deep, he saw the answer he wanted in her eyes.
I love you, Olivia.
He closed his mouth over hers, drew in her ragged breath, and wondered how long he would wait to hear her say it. 30. The man was so carelessly cheerful, Olivia thought. It was all but impossible not to respond in kind. It didn't matter that the morning had dawned with a thin, drizzling rain that would undoubtedly have them soaked within an hour of the hike back. He woke unhappy, listened to the drumming, and said it was a sign from God that they should stay in the tent and make crazy love. Since he rolled on top of her and initiated a sexy little wrestling match, she couldn't come up with a logical argument against the plan, and for the first time in her life laughed during sex. Then, just when she'd convinced herself that good sex shouldn't be a barometer of her emotions, he nuzzled her neck, told her to stay put, and that he'd see to the coffee. She snuggled into the warm cocoon of the tent and wallowed in the afterglow of lovemaking. She hadn't let herself be pampered since childhood. She had taught herself to believe that if she didn't take care of herself, see to details personally, and move consistently forward in the direction she'd mapped out, she would be handing control of her life over to someone else, as her mother had done. And yes, she thought closing her eyes, perhaps even as her father had done. Love was a weakness or a weapon, and she'd convinced herself that she'd never permit herself to feel it for anyone beyond family. Didn't she have both potentials inside her, the one to surrender to it completely and the one to use it violently? How could she risk turning that last key in that last lock and open herself to what she already knew she had inside her for Noah? Then he nudged his way back into the tent, 2 steaming cups in his hand. His sun-streaked hair was damp with rain, his feet bare, and the jeans he'd tugged on unbuttoned. The wave of love swamped her, closed over her heart and head.
I think I saw a shrew.
He passed her the coffee and settled down with his own.
Don't know if it was a wandering or a dusky, but I'm pretty sure it was a shrew.
The wanderings found more often in the lowlands, she heard herself say. At this altitude it was probably a dusky.
Whichever. It looked mostly like a mouse and was rooting around, for breakfast, I guess.
They eat constantly, rarely go over 3 hours without a meal. Very like some city boys I know.
I haven't even mentioned breakfast.
He fortified himself with coffee.
I thought about it, but I haven't mentioned it. The weather's going to get better.
She merely lifted an eyebrow and glanced up toward the roof of the tent and the steady tapping of rain.
An hour tops, and it'll clear, he insisted. If I'm right, you cook breakfast in the sunshine. If I'm wrong, I do it in the rain.
Deal.
So how about a date when we get back?
Excuse me?
A date, you know. Dinner, a movie, making out in my rental car.
I thought you'd be heading back to L.A. soon.
I can work anywhere. You're here.
It was so simple for him, she realized. I keep trying to take a step back from you. You keep moving forward. He smoothed her tousled hair with his fingers.
"Is that a problem for you?"
"Yes, but not as much as I thought it would be. Not as much as it should be." She took a breath, braced herself. "I care about you. It's not easy for me. I'm no good at this." He leaned forward, pressed his lips to her forehead, and said,
"Practice." While Noah and Olivia were inside the tent in the rain-splattered forest, Sam Tanner looked out the window of the rented cabin and into the gloom. He'd never understood what had drawn Julie to this place, with its rains and chill, its thick forests and solitude. She'd been made for the light, he thought, spotlights, the elegant shimmer of chandeliers, the hot white flash of exotic beaches. But she'd always been pulled back here by some invisible tie. He realized now that he'd done his best to break that tie. He'd made excuses not to go with her, or he'd juggled their demands to prevent her from going alone. They'd only made the trip twice after Olivia was born. He'd ignored Julie's need for home because he hadn't wanted anyone or anything to be more important to her than he was. Before they could slide away from him, he picked up the mini recorder he'd bought and put those thoughts on tape. He intended to speak with Noah again, but wasn't sure how much more time he had. The headaches were raging down on him like a freight train, and with terrifying regularity now. He suspected the doctors had overestimated his time, and the tapes were his backup. Whatever happened, whenever it happened, he was going to be sure the book found its way. He had everything he needed. He'd stocked the kitchen with food from the resort's grocery store. There were times he didn't have the energy for the dining room. He had plenty of tapes and batteries to continue his story until he was able to reach Noah again. Where the hell is he? Sam thought with a flush of anger. Time was running out, and he needed that connection. He needed not to be alone. The headache began to build in the center of his skull. He shook pills out of bottles, some prescription, some he'd risked buying on the street. He had to beat the pain. He couldn't think, couldn't function if he let the pain take over. And he had so much to do yet. So much to do. Olivia, he thought grimly. There was a debt to pay. He set the bottles back on the table, beside the long gleaming knife and the Smith & Wesson .38. Noah might have felt smug about being right about the rain, but he felt even better when they reached the lowland forest. He could start dreaming of a hot shower now, a quiet room, and several hours alone with his computer and a phone. "You've lost 2 bets to me now," he reminded her. "It stopped raining, and I never whined for my laptop." "Yes, you did. You just did it in your head." "That doesn't count. Pay up." "No, forget I said that. I'll take it in trade. We'll call it even if you find me a room where I can work for a few hours." "I can probably come up with something." "And a place I can shower and change?" He smiled when she slanted him a look. "I'm online for a room at the lodge if you get any cancellations, but meanwhile I'm relegated to a campsite and public showers. I'm very shy." Delighted with her giggle, he grabbed her hand. "Except around you. You can shower with me. We take conservation very seriously in my family." She scowled, but only for form's sake. "We can swing by the house," she said after checking her watch. "My grandmother should be out with one of the children's groups for a while yet. Then she generally goes marketing. You've got an hour, Brady, to get yourself cleaned up and out. I don't want her upset." "That's not a problem." He told himself he wouldn't let it be. "But she's going to have to meet me eventually, Liv. At the wedding, anyway."
Ha, ha. She tugged her hand free.
We can make another bet. I say I can charm her inside of an hour.
No deal.
You're just afraid because you know she'll come over to my side and tell you what a blind fool you are for not throwing yourself at my feet.
You really need to get a grip.
Oh, I've got one.
And I've got you, he thought. We're both just figuring that out. He saw the flickers of color first, through the trees, and the green wash of light, dabs and dapples of red and blue and yellow, then the glint that was stronger sunlight shooting off glass. When he stepped into the clearing, he stopped, pulling Olivia to a halt beside him. When he'd driven her home, it had been dark, deep and dark, and he'd only seen the shape of shadow against night and the flickers of light in a window. Now he thought the house looked like a fairy tale, with its varied roof lines and sturdy old wood and stone, flowers flowing at its base and sprinkling into sweeps of pretty colors and shapes. There were 2 rockers on the porch, pots filled with more brilliant flowers and generous windows on all sides that would have opened the inside world up to the forest.
It's perfect.
She watched his face as he said it, as surprised to see he meant just that, as by the rush of pleasure it gave her. It's been the McBride's home for generations, she told him.
No wonder.
No wonder what?
No wonder it's your place. It's exactly right for you. This, not the house in Beverly Hills. That would never have been you.
I'll never know that. He turned from the house to look in her eyes.
Yes, you do.
With someone else, she might have shrugged it off. With anyone else, she wouldn't have spoken of it. Yes, I do know that. How do you?
You've been inside me for 20 years.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't have to. What I know is that when I try to project 20 years from now, you're still there.
Her heart did one long, slow roll. She had to look away to steady it. God, you get to me. She shook her head when his hands came to her shoulders, when he shifted her back to him. No, not now.
Always,
he said quietly, and settled his lips softly, dreamily on hers. Without a sound, without a struggle, her arms came up and around him, her body leaned in. Not surrender, not this time. This time, acceptance. Emotions stormed through him, fast and hot and needy, and his mouth grew rough on hers.
Tell me,
he demanded. It was wild to hear the words, to hear from her lips what he could taste on them. She wanted to fling herself off the edge and trust him to fall with her. The fear and the joy of it roared in her head. She teetered there, pulled in both directions, and only jerked away when she heard the sound of an engine laboring up the lane. Someone's coming. He kept his hands on her shoulders, his eyes on hers.
You're in love with me. Just say it.
It's the truck. It's my grandmother. She pressed a hand to her mouth. God, what have I done? The truck was already rounding the turn. Too late to ask him to go, Olivia realized. Too late even if the glint in his eye told her he wouldn't have quietly slipped into the trees. She turned away, braced herself as the truck pulled up. I'll handle this.
No.
He took her hand in a firm grip.
We'll handle it.
Val sat where she was as they walked to the truck. Her fingers were tight on the wheel. She saw the distress and apology on Olivia's face and looked away from it. Grandma! Olivia stopped at the driver's side, rested her free hand on the base of the open window.
So, you're back?
Yes, just now. I thought you'd be with the children's group.
Janine took it.
Rage had her by the throat, whipping the words out before she could stop them.
Did you think to sneak in and out before I got home?
Stunned, Olivia blinked, stood numbly as Noah shifted in front of her, much as he had to shield her from the cougar.
I asked Olivia if I could shower and change since the lodge is booked. I'm Noah Brady, Mrs. McBride. I know who you are. This is Livy's home, she said shortly. If she's told you that you can use it to clean up, that's her right. But I have nothing to say to you. Move aside, she ordered. I have groceries to put away. She dragged at the wheel, and without another glance at either of them, drove around the back of the house. I broke my word to her, Olivia murmured. No, you didn't.
She let out a shuddering breath that caught in her throat as he started after the truck. What are you doing? Where are you going?
To help your grandmother carry in the groceries.
"Oh, for Christ's sake!" She caught up, dragged at his arm. "Just go! Can't you see how I hurt her?"
Yeah, I can see it, and I can damn well see how she's hurt you." The steel was back in his voice as he took her wrist, pulled her hand away. "I'm not backing off. You're both going to have to deal with that." He strode to the back of the house, and before Val could protest, plucked a bag out of her hand. Reaching into the bed of the truck, he hauled out another. "I'll take these in."
He carted them onto the back porch and let himself in through the kitchen door. "I'm sorry." Olivia rushed to Val. "Grandma, I'm so sorry. I wouldn't have... I'll make him go."
"You've already made your choices."
Back stiff, Val reached in for another bag. "I wasn't thinking clearly. I'm sorry." She could taste hysteria bubbling in her own throat. "I'm so sorry. I'll make him go."
"No, you won't."
Struggling to hold his temper, Noah came back out. He walked to the truck, took the last 2 bags.
"Any more than I'll make you do anything. If you want to take it out on someone, Mrs. McBride, take it out on me."
"Noah, would you just go?"
"And leave you here feeling guilty and unhappy?"
He gave her a long, quiet look that had Val's eyes narrowing.
"You know better. I'm sorry we disagree about the book," he continued, turning back to Val. "I'm sorry that my being here upsets you. But the fact is, I'm going to write the book, and I'm going to be a part of Olivia's life. I hope we can come to terms about both, because she loves you. She loves you enough, and is grateful enough for everything you've done for her and been to her, that if it comes down to a choice between your peace of mind and her own happiness, she'll choose you."
"That's not fair," Olivia began, and Val cut her off with a lifted hand. The wound inside her might have broken open again, might have been raw and viciously painful, but her eyes were still clear. They were still sharp. She wanted to dislike his face, to find it cold and hard and ruthless. She wanted to see self-interest, perhaps coated with a thin sheen of polish. Instead, she saw the glint of anger that hadn't faded since it had flashed into his eyes when she'd snapped at Olivia, and she saw the strength she'd once seen in his father's face.
"That book will not be discussed in this house."
Noah nodded.
"Understood."
"There are perishables in those bags," Val said as she turned away. "I have to get them put away." "Just give them to me," Olivia began, then hissed in frustration when he simply walked past her and into the house behind her grandmother. Left with no choice, Olivia dragged off her pack, dumped it on the porch, and hurried in after them. Already unloading bags, Val glanced toward the door as Olivia came in. She saw nerves, ripe and jittery, in her granddaughter's eyes. It made her feel ashamed. "You might as well take that pack off," she said to Noah. "I imagine you're sick of carrying it by now."
If I admitted that, Liv would smirk at me. She wants me to think she thinks I'm a shallow urbanite who can't tell east from west.
"You can't," Olivia murmured, and had Noah grinning at her.
"I was just testing you."
"And are you?" Val asked. If she'd been blind, she would have seen the bond in the look that passed between them. "A shallow urbanite?"
"No, ma'am, I'm not. The fact is I've fallen in love, not just with Liv, though that came as a jolt to both of us, but with Washington, at least your part of it. I've already picked some spots where we could build our house, but Liv says we'd run into trouble because it's a national park."
"He's just babbling," Olivia managed, when she had untangled her tongue. "There isn't—"
"Spending a few days at the lodge or camping isn't like living here," Val interrupted. "I don't guess it is."
Noah leaned back comfortably against the counter.
"But I'm a pretty flexible guy about some things, and this is where she's happy. This is home for her. As soon as I saw this place, I thought she'd like to get married right here in the yard, between the flowers and the forest. That would suit her, wouldn't it?"
"Oh, stop it!" Olivia burst out. "There isn't—"
"I wasn't talking to you,"
Noah said mildly, then offered Val an easy smile.
"She's crazy about me, but she's having a little trouble, you know, settling into it."
Val nearly smiled. It broke her heart, then filled it again to see the amused exasperation on her little girl's face. "You're a clever young man, aren't you?"
"I like to think so."
She sighed a little as she neatly folded the last brown bag. "You might as well go get the rest of your things. You can stay in the guest room."
"Thanks. I'll just leave the pack here."
He turned, caught Olivia by the chin while she was still trying to catch up, and kissed her warmly, deeply.
"I won't be long."
The screen door slapped smartly behind him, and Olivia threw up her hands. "You didn't have to do that. He'll be fine at the campground. You'll just be uncomfortable if he stays here."
Val walked over to tuck the bags away in the broom closet. "Are you in love with him?"
It's just—"
She trailed off helplessly as Val turned back to look at her. "Are you in love with him, Livy?" She could only nod as tears swam into her eyes. "And if I said I don't want him around here, I don't want you to have anything to do with him? That you owe me the loyalty to respect my feelings on this?"
"But—"
"I'll never have peace if you let that man into your life."
She went white and rigid with the lance of pain. This was the woman who had given her everything, who had opened her arms, her heart, her home. She had to grip the edge of the counter to steady herself. I'll go tell him he has to leave."
Oh, Livy."
Val dropped into a chair, covering her face as she burst into tears. Don't cry. I'll send him away. He won't come back." Already on her knees, Olivia wrapped her arms around Val's waist. "I won't see him again."
"He was right."
Eyes drenched, Val framed Olivia's pale face.
"I wanted to throw it back in his face, but he was right. You'd turn away from him, from your own heart, if you thought it was what I needed. I wanted him to be the selfish one, but I'm the one who's been selfish."
"No, never."
"I've hoarded you, Livy." With an unsteady hand, Val brushed at Olivia's hair. "As much for your sake as mine in the beginning, but as time passed, just for me, I lost my Julie, and I promised myself nothing would ever happen to you."
"You took care of me."
"Yes, I took care of you."
Tears streaming still, Val pressed a kiss to Olivia's forehead.
"I loved you, and Livy, I needed you. I needed you so desperately, so I never let you go. Not really."
"Don't cry, Gran." It ripped her to shreds to see the tears.
"I have to face it. We both do. I never let either of us face it, Livy. Every time your grandfather would try to talk to me about it, to make me see, I closed off. Even just a few days ago, I wouldn't listen to him. I knew he was right, but I wouldn't listen. Now it's taken an outsider to make me face it."
"Everything I have, everything I am, I owe to you."
"It's not a debt."
Anger with herself made Val's voice sharp.
"I'm ashamed to know I let you think it was or should be. I'm ashamed that I pulled back from you when you chose to cooperate with this book. I could see it was something you needed, but I pulled back deliberately and made you suffer for it. I put a wedge between us, and I was too proud, too afraid to pull it out again."
"I have to know why it happened."
"And I've never let you. I've never let any of us."
Val drew Olivia closer, rested her cheek on the soft cap of hair.
"I still don't know if I can face it all, but I do know. I want you to be happy, not just safe. Being safe isn't enough to live on."
Steadier, Val eased back, rubbed the tears away.
"It's best if your young man stays here."
"I don't want him to upset you." Val took what she hoped was the next step and managed a smile.
"I'd rather he stay here where I can keep an eye on him and see if he's good enough for you. If I decide he's not, I'll see that your grandfather whips him into shape."
Olivia turned her cheek into Val's hand. "He claims he can charm you in less than an hour."
"Well, we'll just see about that."
Rising, Val plucked out a tissue, blew her nose.
"It takes more than a pretty face to charm me. I'll make up my own mind in my own time."
Her head felt a little hollow from the emotional ride.
"I suppose I'd better go up and see that the guest room's in order."
"I'll do it. I'll just take my pack up." She hefted it. "I should run over to the center, check on things. It won't take me long."
"Take your time. It'll give me a chance to interrogate your young man. You never brought one home with you before for me to make squirm."
"He's slippery."
I'm quick.
Ren, I love you so much.
Yes, I know you do. Go on. I need to make myself presentable. We'll talk more, Livy, she murmured after Olivia started up the stairs. It's long past time we talked. Her step was light as she crossed the upstairs hall to her room. She was in love, and it didn't hurt a bit. The gaps that had widened between her and her grandmother over the past months were closing. The future was a wide, wonderful space overflowing with possibilities. Wanting to hurry, she flung open the door of her room, and the joy that had just begun to fill her soul fell away. There, on the pillow of her bed, bathed in a quiet stream of sunlight, lay a single white rose. 31. She couldn't breathe. Her head rang. Wild, frantic bells that vibrated down from her skull, pealed down her spine, beat along her numbed legs until she simply collapsed forward on her hands and knees and began to suck for air like a woman drowning. There was a terrible urge to crawl away, into the closet, into the dark. She fought it, and the ice-pick jabs of panic in her chest. She pressed her hand to her shirt, then stared down it, surprised it wasn't covered with blood. The monster was here, in the house. He'd been in the house. With the thought of that chuckling hideously in her ear, she lunged to her feet, stumbled over the pack she'd dropped. Momentum carried her forward, so that she fell on the bed, her fingers inches away from the stem of that perfect white rose. She snatched her hand away, as if the flower were a snake, filled with venom and ready to strike. She reared back, her eyes wide and round, the scream tearing at her throat for release. In the house, she thought again. He'd come into the house, and her grandmother was down in the kitchen, alone. Her hand might have shook, but she reached for the knife at her belt, unsheathed it so that the blade hissed against leather, and she moved quietly toward the door. She wasn't a helpless child now, and she would protect what she loved. He wouldn't still be inside. She tried to reason with herself, to follow logic, but she could still taste the fear. She slipped out into the hall, keeping her back against the wall. Her ears were cocked for any sound, and the hilt of the knife was hot in her hand. She moved quietly from room to room, carefully as she would when tracking a deer. She searched each one for a sign, for a scent, a change in the air. Her knees trembled as she crossed to the attic door. Would he hide there where the memories were locked away? Would he know somehow that everything precious of her mother was neatly stored up those narrow stairs? She imagined herself going up, climbing those steps, hearing the faint creak of her weight against the old wood, then seeing him standing there with the chest lid flung open and her mother's scent struggling to life in the musty air, the bloody scissors in his hand and the deranged eyes of the monster looking out from her father's face. She all but willed it to be so as her fingers trembled against the knob. She would raise her knife and drive it into him, as he'd once driven the blades into her mother, and she would end it. But her hand lay limply on the knob, and her brow pressed against the wood of the door. For the first time in 2 decades, she wanted desperately to weep, and couldn't. At the sound of a car rounding the lane, she slid the bolt home under the knob and ran on jellied legs to a window. The first fresh spurt of fear when she didn't recognize the car shimmered into relief when she saw Noah climb out. Her hands curled on the sill as she scanned the trees, the lengthening shadows. Was he out there? Was he watching? She spun around, desperate to run downstairs now, to let the terror spill out so someone else could take it away, and thought of her grandmother. No, she couldn't frighten her that way. She would handle it herself. Cautious, she slid the knife back in its sheath, but left the safety unsnapped. She leaned against the wall again, taking slow, even breaths. When she heard Noah's step on the stairs, she moved back into the hall. She's starting to warm up to me. Asked if I liked grilled pork chops.
Let me give you a hand with that.
How steady her voice was, she thought. How cool. She reached out to take his laptop case and left him with his bag and gear. The guest room's in here. It has its own bath. Thanks. He followed her inside, glancing around as he dropped his bags on the bed. This is a hell of a lot more appealing than a pup tent on a campsite. And guess who's here?
Here?
His eyes narrowed on her face at the thready ring to her voice. "What's the matter, Liv?"
She shook her head, lowered to the edge of the bed. She needed a minute, just another minute. "Who's here?"
"My parents."
He took a good look at her now, and sitting beside her took her hand. It was clammy and cold. "Frank? Frank's here?" Her hand turned over in his, gripped like a vice.
"At the lodge,"
Noah said slowly.
"They'd booked a room a while back. I want you to tell me what's wrong."
"I will. Frank's here." She let her head drop weakly on Noah's shoulder. "I asked him to come. When I was in L.A., I went to his house and asked him if he could. And he did."
"You matter to him. You always did."
"I know. It's like a circle, and it keeps going, all of us around and around. We can't stop, just can't stop going around until it's all finished. He's been in the house, Noah."
"Who?"
She straightened up, and though her cheeks were still pale, her eyes were level. "My father. He's been in the house."
"How do you know?"
"There's a rose on my bed, a white rose. He wants me to know he's come back." The only change was a hardness that came into his eyes and a coldness that glinted into the green.
"Stay here."
"I've looked." She tightened her grip on his hand. "I've already looked through the house, except for the attic. I couldn't go into the attic because—"
"Damn right you couldn't go into the attic."
The idea of it made his stomach churn.
"You stay in here or go downstairs with your grandmother."
"No, you don't understand. I couldn't go up because I wanted him to be there. I wanted it because I wanted to go up and kill him. Kill my father. God help me, I could see it, the way I'd ram the knife into him, the way his blood would run over my hands. I wanted it. I wanted it. What does that make me?"
"Human."
He snapped it out, the word as effective as a slap. She jerked back, shuddered once. "No, it would have made me what he is."
"Did you go up, Olivia?"
"No, I locked the door from the outside."
"Lock this one from the inside and wait for me."
"Don't go."
"He's not here."
He got to his feet.
"But you'll feel better if we make sure. Lock the door," he ordered, "and wait."
Despising herself, she did just that, hid as she had hidden before. When he came back, she opened the door and looked at him with empty eyes.
"There's no one there. I didn't see any indication there had been. We need to tell your grandparents."
"It'll frighten my grandmother."
"She has to know. See if you can track down your grandfather. Call the lodge. I'll call my parents."
He skimmed his knuckles over her cheek.
"You'll feel better if you have your cop."
"Yes, Noah." She laid a hand on his arm. "When I saw you get out of the car just now, I knew I could lean on you. I wanted to."
"Liv, if I told you I'd take care of you, it'd just piss you off, wouldn't it?"
She gave a watery laugh and sat back on the bed again. "Yeah, not now because I'm shaky, but later."
"Well, since you're shaky, I'll risk it. I'm going to take care of you."
He took her face in his hands and kissed her.
"Believe it. Now call your grandfather."
He'd taken such a risk, such a foolish and satisfying risk. How easily he could have been caught. And then what? He wasn't ready to face that yet. Not quite yet. As he sat in his room, he lifted a glass of bourbon to his lips with a hand that still shook slightly, but not with fear, with excitement, with life. For 20 years he'd had no choice but to follow the rules, to do what was expected, to play the game. He couldn't have known, could never have anticipated what it was like to be free of that. It was terrifying. It was liberating. She would know what the rose meant. She wouldn't have forgotten the symbol of it. Daddy's home. He drank again, felt such power after so many years of powerlessness. He'd nearly been caught. What incredible timing. He'd barely left the house by the back door. Wasn't it wonderful that such people trusted the fates and left their doors unlocked? When he'd seen them step out of the trees. Livy, little Livy and the son of the cop. That was irony enough for any script. The cycle, the circle, the whims of fortune that would have the daughter of the woman he loved connect with the son of the cop who'd investigated her murder. Julie, his beautiful Julie. He'd thought it would be enough just to frighten Livy, enough to make her think of that bloody night so many years ago, to remember what she'd seen and run from. How could he have known, after all these years, that he would look at her as she turned to another man and see Julie pressing that long, slim body against someone else? How could he have known he'd remember, in a kind of nightmare frenzy, what it was to destroy what you loved, and need so desperately to do it all again? And when it was done, he picked up the knife and turned it under the lamplight. It would be over. The circle finally closed. There would be nothing left of the woman who'd turned him away.
You'll need to take basic precautions.
Frank sat in the McBride living room, his blood humming. Back on the job, he thought, to finish one that had never felt closed. For how long? Olivia asked. It was her grandmother who concerned her most, but the crisis appeared to have steadied Val. She sat, shoulders straight, eyes alert, mouth hard.
As long as it takes. You're going to want to avoid going out alone, staying in groups as much as possible, and start locking the doors.
Olivia had had time to settle, time to think, so she nodded. There really isn't anything we can do, is there? He remembered the little girl hiding in the closet, and the way she'd reached out to him. She was a woman now, and this time he couldn't just pick her up and take her to safety.
I'm going to be as honest with you as I can, Livy. So far, he hasn't done anything we can push him on.
Stalking, Noah snapped out.
Trespassing, breaking and entering. First, you have to prove it.
Frank held up a hand.
If we manage to do that, the police might be able to hassle him, but not much more. A phone call with no specific threat, a gift, and a flower put into an unlocked house. He could argue that he just wanted to make contact with the daughter he hasn't seen in 20 years. There's no law against it.
He's a murderer. Rob stopped his restless pacing and laid a hand on Olivia's shoulder.
Who's served his time? And the fact is,
Frank scanned the faces in the room,
the contact may be all he wants.
Then why didn't he speak to me over the phone? Frank focused on Olivia. She was a little pale, but holding up well. Underneath the composure, he imagined her nerves were screaming.
I can't get into his head. Never could. Maybe that's why I could never put this one aside.
You're what's left of Julie, Frank thought. All he has left of her. And you're what helped put him away. And she knew it. He could see the knowledge of it burning in her eyes.
What we can do is ask the local police to do some checking, he continued. Do what they can to find out if Tanner's in the area.
Olivia nodded again, kept her hands still in her lap. And if he is?
They'll talk to him.
And so will I, Frank thought.
If he contacts you, let me know about it right away. If there's more, we may be able to push on the stalking.
He hesitated, then got to his feet.
Remember one thing, Livy. He's on your ground, out of his element. And he's alone. You're not.
It bolstered her, as it was meant to. She rose as well. I'm glad you're here. She smiled at Celia. Both of you.
We all are.
Val stepped forward.
I hope you'll stay for dinner.
You have so much on your mind, Celia began.
We'd like you to stay.
Val laid a hand on Celia's arm, and there was a plea in her eye, woman to woman. Then why don't I give you a hand? I haven't had a chance to tell you how much I like your home. As they started out, with Celia's arm draped over Val's shoulders, Olivia wondered who was leading whom.
I haven't even offered you a drink."
Rob struggled to slip into the role of host.
"What can I get you?"
"Coffee," Frank started to say. He always drank coffee when he was working. But Olivia moved to Rob, slid her arm through his. "We have a really lovely Fumé Blanc. Noah's fond of good wine. Why don't you make yourselves comfortable while we open a bottle?"
"That would be nice. Wouldn't mind stretching my legs a bit first. Noah, why don't we take a walk?"
He wanted to object, to keep Olivia in sight, but it had been more order than request, and he knew there was a reason for it.
"Sure, we'll take a look at Mr. McBride's garden, so you can mourn your own failure."
As much for himself as to make a point, he turned to Olivia, brushed a kiss over her mouth.
"Be right back."
Frank waited until they were outside. Even as they stepped off the porch, his eyes were scanning.
"I take it there's more between you and Livy than the book." "I'm in love with her. I'm going to marry her."
The sudden hitch in his step had Frank coming up short, blowing out a breath.
"Next time, son, remember my age and tell me to sit down first."
He was braced for a fight, craved one.
"You have a problem with that?" "No, anything but."
Calmly, Frank studied his son's face.
"But it sounds like you do." "I brought this on her." "No, you didn't."
Deliberately, he moved away from the house, wanting to be certain their voices didn't carry through open windows.
"If Tanner wanted to get to her, he'd have found a way. You didn't lead him here, Noah." "The fucking book."
Maybe he looked at it as a tool. Maybe he just wanted the spotlight again. Frank shook his head.
"Or maybe he started out wanting to tell his story just as he told you. I've never been able to get a handle on him. I'll tell you this, if you don't keep your head clear, you never will either, and you won't help her." "My head's clear."
And his rage was cold.
"Clear enough to know if I find him before the cops do, I'll do more than talk. He's terrorizing her, and he brought Mom into it. He's used me for part of it."
He strode around the edge of the garden, where the last soft light lay like silk over the celebration of flowers.
"God damn it! I sat with him. I looked him in the eye. I listened to him. I'm supposed to know what's inside people when they're stringing me along, and I'd started to believe he'd been innocent." "So had I, at one point. Why did you?"
Noah jammed his hands into his pockets, stared into the trees.
"He loved her. However fucked up he was, he loved her. He still does. You can see it when he talks about her. She was it for him. I know what that feels like now. When you have that inside you, how can you get past it to kill?"
He shook his head before Frank could speak.
"And that's stupid because it happens all the time. Drugs, alcohol, obsession, jealousy. But a part of me bought into it, wanted to buy into it." "You love her. He's her father." "There's something else, Noah. They found Karen." "What?"
For a minute the name meant nothing.
"Doesn't matter now."
"It might. She turned up in New York, hooked up with a photographer she met at a party. A rich photographer."
"Good for her. Hope she stays there. A whole continent between us ought to be enough."
Then he thought of Mike.
"Did they pull her in?"
"She was questioned. Denied it. Word is, she got pretty violent in denying it."
"Typical."
"She also has an alibi for the night Mike was hurt. The party. A couple of dozen people saw her at this deal up in the hills."
"So she slipped out for a while."
"It doesn't look like it. The alibi's holding. We have the time of the attack narrowed to 30 minutes between when Mike got to the house and Dory found him. During that half-hour period, Karen was snuggled up to the photographer in front of 20 witnesses."
"That doesn't—"
He trailed off, felt his insides lurch.
"Tanner? God!"
He dragged his hands free, pressed his fingers to his eyes.
"He knew where I lived. He was out by then, and he knew where to find me. The son of a bitch! What was the point?"
"Did you let him see any of your work?"
"No, of course not."
"Could be as simple as that. He wanted to see where you were heading with it. Top billing was important to him, probably still is, and you'd have names, addresses in your files, notes, tapes."
"Revenge? Does it come down to that? Getting back at the people who testified against him?" I don't know. But he's dying, Noah. What does he have to lose?
He had nothing to lose, so he sat, sipping his drink and watching night fall. The pain was nicely tucked under the cushion of drugs, and the drugs were dancing with alcohol, just like old times. It made him want to laugh. It made him want to weep. Time was running out, he thought. Wasn't it funny? Wasn't it wonderfully funny how it had crawled for 20 years, only to sprint like a runner at the starting blocks now that he was free? Free to do what? To die of cancer? Sam studied the gun, lifted it, stroked it. No, he didn't think he'd let the cancer kill him. All he needed was the guts. Experimentally, he turned the gun, looked keenly into the barrel, then slipped it like a kiss between his lips. It would be fast, and if there was pain, it would be over before it really began. His finger flirted with the trigger. He could do it. It was just another kind of survival, wasn't it? He'd learned all about survival in prison. But not yet. First, there was Livy. Most of all, there was Livy. Through the meal, no one spoke of it. Conversation ran smoothly, gliding over underlying tensions. After the first 10 minutes, Noah gazed at his mother with admiration. She drew Olivia out, chattering on about the center, asking her opinion about everything from the plight of the northern pocket gopher, where did she get this stuff, to the mating habits of osprey. He decided either Olivia was as skilled an actress as her mother had been, or she was enjoying herself. Val lifted a bowl of herbed potatoes and passed them to Frank. "Have some more. I'm going to have to make serious use of your health club tomorrow." But he accepted the bowl and helped himself to another serving. "This is a fantastic meal, Val." "Frank tolerates my cooking," Celia put in. "Cooking?" Frank winked at Noah and handed off the bowl. "When did you start cooking?" "Listen to that," she said as she gave him a playful punch. "All the years I've slaved over a hot stove for my men."
"All the tofu that gave their lives," Noah murmured, and earned a punch of his own. "But you sure are pretty, Mom. Isn't she pretty?" He grabbed her hand and kissed it.
"You think that gets around me?" He scooped up potatoes.
"Yeah."
And that's what did it for Val. How could she hold back against a boy who so clearly loved his mother? She lifted a basket, offered it. "Have another roll, Noah."
"Thanks."
This time when he smiled at her, she smiled back. They lingered over coffee. Under different circumstances, Noah mused, the McBrides and the Bradys would have slipped into an easy friendship without complications, with no shadows. But the shadows were flickering back. He could see them in the way Olivia would glance at the windows, quick glimpses at the dark, the way his father studied the house, a cop's assessment of security, and he saw the strain on Val McBride's face when his parents got ready to leave. "I'll be at your naturalist talk at the center tomorrow." Celia slipped on a light jacket. "And I'm hoping there's still room for one more on your guided hike." "We'll make room." Celia ignored Olivia's extended hand and caught her up in a hard hug. "I'll see you in the morning, then. Val, Rob, thanks for a wonderful meal." And when she embraced Val, she murmured in her ear, "Stay strong. We're right here." She gave Val's back a bolstering pat, then took Noah's arm. "Walk your mother to the car." It would, they both knew, give Frank a chance to reassure the McBrides. Celia breathed deep of the night and wondered how Frank would feel about buying a little holiday cabin in the area. They were used to having their chick close by, after all. It was a good place for roots, she thought, drawing in the scent of growing things, a good place for her son. She turned to him, took his face in her hands. "You're smart and you're clever, and you've always been a joy to me. If you let that girl get away, I'll kick your butt." He lifted an eyebrow.
"Do you know everything?"
"About you, I do. Have you asked her to marry you?"
"Sort of. She's work." "Yeah, just as you said she would be," he added when Celia rolled her eyes. "But she's not going to get away from me, and I'm not going to let anything happen to her."
"I've always wondered who you'd fall in love with and bring into our lives, and I always promised myself that whoever it was, no matter how irritated I might be by her, I'd be a quiet, non-interfering mother-in-law. And you can wipe that smirk off your face right now, young man."
"Sorry. I thought I heard you say something about you being quiet.
I'll ignore that and tell you how much I appreciate you choosing a woman I can admire, respect, and love.
I didn't choose her. I think I ran out of choices the minute I saw her.
Oh, Celia stepped back, sniffling. That's going to make me cry. I want grandbabies, Noah.
Is that from the quiet, non-interfering part of you?
Shut up. Then she hugged him, held on fierce and tight. Be careful. Please, be very careful.
I will. With her, with all of it.
He stared over his mother's shoulder into the shadows.
He's not going to harm us.
32. He waited until the house was quiet to go to her. He knocked softly, didn't wait for her answer, and saw the moment she turned from the window that she hadn't expected him.
Did you really think I'd leave you alone tonight?
I don't think it's appropriate that we sleep together in my grandparents' house. He had to give himself a minute.
Are you saying that to make me mad, or because you actually believe the only reason I'm here is to sleep with you?
She shrugged, then turned away again. The wind had risen to sing through the treetops. That and the sound of the night birds was a music that always soothed her. But not tonight. She'd tried a hot bath, the herbal tea her grandmother enjoyed before bedtime. They'd added yet another layer of fatigue to her body, and did nothing to soothe her mind. I don't have any objections to sex, she said coolly, willing him to leave before she pulled him in any deeper. But I'm tired, and my grandparents are sleeping at the end of the hallway.
Fine. Go to bed.
He walked to her shelves, scanned the titles of books, and plucked one at random.
I'll just sit here and read a while.
She closed her eyes while her back was to him, then, composing her features carefully, faced him. Maybe we should straighten this out before it goes any farther. The few days in the back country was fun, more fun than I'd expected. I like you more than I anticipated. Because I do, I don't want to hurt you.
Yes, you do.
He set the book aside, sat down.
The question is, why?
I don't want to hurt you, Noah. Some of the emotion pumping inside her leaked into her voice. We had an interesting time together. We had great sex. Now I've got a lot more on my mind. And the simple fact is, I don't want what you seem to believe you want from us. I'm not built for it.
You're in love with me, Olivia.
You're deluding yourself. She shoved open the French doors and stepped out onto the narrow terrace.
The hell I am.
She hadn't expected him to move that quickly, certainly not that quietly, but he was beside her, spinning her around, and the temper in his eyes was ripe and hot.
Do I have to make you say it?
He yanked her against him.
Is that the only way? You can't even give me the words freely?
What if I am in love with you? What if I am? She fought her way free, stood back with the wind whipping at her thin robe. It won't work. I won't let it. Her voice rose. With an effort, she controlled it before she gave in to the urge to shout. Maybe if I didn't care, I'd let it happen.
That makes sense. That explains everything. If you didn't love me, we could be together.
Because it wouldn't matter. I'm afraid, and you'd see to it I wasn't alone. I'd let you do what you seem so hell-bent on doing and take care of me, at least until this is over. A little calmer, he reached out to touch the ends of her hair.
I knew it was a mistake to say that. Taking care of you isn't taking you over, Liv.
You've got this nurturing streak. You can't help yourself. The idea so completely baffled him he could only stare.
No, I don't.
Oh, for God's sake! She stormed past him, back into the room. You want to look after everyone you care about. Listen to yourself sometime when you talk about Mike. You're always coming to his rescue. You don't even realize it. It's second nature. It's the same with your parents.
I don't rescue my parents.
You tend to them, Noah. It's lovely, really lovely. Just tonight, I'm listening to your mother talk about how you come by their house and try to save her flowers. Or how you go hang out with your father at the youth center, take him pizza.
He might starve otherwise. It's not tending.
It was a word that made him want to squirm.
It's just family.
No, it's just you. And she could have drowned in love with him for no other reason. He was beautiful, inside and out. You focus, she continued. You listen, and you make things matter. all the things I wanted to believe about you, all the ways I tried to tell myself you were shallow or careless, were just ways to stop myself from feeling. Because I can't."
"Won't," he corrected. "I sound like a pretty good catch." He started toward her. "Why are you trying to shake me off the hook?"
"I don't come from the kind of people you come from. My mother was a victim, my father a murderer. That's what I have inside me."
"So everyone who comes from a difficult or violent background isn't capable of love?"
"This isn't a debate. I'm telling you the way it is. I'm telling you I don't want to be involved with you."
"How are you going to stop it?"
"I already have." Her voice went flat and cool now as she turned toward the door. "We're done. I've given you all I can give you on the book. There's no need for you to stay past morning." He walked toward the door she opened. Her heart was bleeding as she shifted aside. Later she would tell herself she should have seen it coming, should have recognized the cool, reckless light in his eye. He gripped her wrist to move it away from the knob, closed the door, turned the lock. "If we play it your way, and I go along with the idea that you can turn your feelings on and off as easily as I turned that lock, then all we really had between us was business, which is concluded, and sex. Would that be an accurate statement?" He had her backed against the door, trapped there. When the first shock passed, she realized he frightened her, and along with the fear rode a terrible excitement. "Close enough. It's better that way, for both of us."
"Sure, let's keep it simple. If it's just about sex," he yanked the tie of her robe away, "then let's take it."
She jerked her chin up, forced herself to meet his eyes. "Fine." But his mouth was already crushed to hers, tasting of fury and violence. His fingers plunged into her, ripping her over a brutal peak before her mind could keep pace with her body. She cried out, shock, denial, delight, and the sound was muffled against his ruthless mouth. He tore her robe aside even as he drove her deeper, faster into the pumping heat. "It doesn't matter. It's just sex." Hurt and anger speared through him, and he let the keener edge of desire rule. His hands were rough when he dragged her to the bed, his body hard and demanding when he pressed down on hers. He gave her no time, no choice, but he gave her pleasure. Her nails dug into his shoulders, but not in protest. Beneath his, her body shuddered and writhed, and the sounds in her throat were the low animal moans of mating. This was not the playful tumble he'd shown her, or the gentle thoroughness of seduction. Heat instead of warmth, greed unbalanced by generosity. She tore at his clothes and raked her nails down his sweat-slicked back. With oaths instead of promises, he jerked up her hips and slammed himself into her. She was hot and wet and fisted around him urgently as her body bowed up, a quaking bridge. Her skin glinted with damp in the lamplight. Her eyes stared, dark with shock, into his. She couldn't survive it. It was one terrified thought that raced through her spinning brain. No one could survive this brutal heat, these battering fists of sensation. She fought to swallow air and breathed out his name. The orgasm sliced through her, twin edges of pleasure and pain. It opened her, left her helpless and exposed. He hung on, like a man clinging to a ledge by his fingertips, as the blood beat like thunder in his head, his heart, his loins. "Say it!" He panted it out, gripping her hips so that she had no choice but to take more of him. "Give me the words! Damn it, Liv! Tell me now!" His face filled her vision. There was nothing else. "I love you! Oh, God!"
Her hands slid away from her to lay limply on the bed.
"Noah!"
He let go of the ledge, and when the last desperate thrust emptied him, he collapsed on her. He could feel her trembling and the staccato beat of her heart against his. Who won, he wondered, and rolled away from her. "I'm trying to be sorry for treating you that way," he said, "but I'm not."
There wouldn't be any point in it.
She was cold, she realized, growing cold because he was moving away. "I won't leave in the morning. I won't leave until this is resolved. You'll have to find a way to deal with that."
"Noah?"
She sat up, then began to shiver.
"The lack's in me. It's not you."
"That makes it just fine, then." He rolled off the bed, scooped up his jeans. "I told my mother you were work. That's not the half of it. You're a battle, Liv. You're a fucking combat zone, and I never know if you're going to wave the white flag, attack, or just turn tail and retreat. And maybe you're right." He jammed his legs into the pants and dragged them up. "Maybe it's just not worth it." It was the first time in 6 years he'd hurt her, really hurt her. She stared, speechless, as the shock wave of it shook through her. The words were lethal enough, but he'd said them with such steely finality, with such a wintry indifference, that she wrapped her arms tight to ward off the vicious chill. "You're cold." He reached down for her robe, tossed it onto the tangled sheets. "Go to bed."
"You think you can speak to me like that, then walk away?"
"Yeah, I do."
He found what was left of his shirt and stuffed it in his pocket. "You son of a bitch!" He only lifted a brow when she scrambled off the bed, punched her arms through the sleeves of her robe. "I'm a combat zone? Well, who the hell asked you to sign up for the fight?"
"I guess we can say I was drafted. Lock those outside doors," he instructed, and turned to leave.
"Don't you dare walk out! You started this! You can't possibly understand. You have no idea what it's like for me. You pop into my life whenever you damn well please, and I'm just supposed to go along?"
"You kick me out of your life whenever you damn well please," he retorted, "and I'm just supposed to go along?"
"You want to talk about love and marriage, building houses, having children, and I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow."
"Is that all? Well, just let me consult my crystal ball."
Ordinarily, the killing look she shot him would have made him want to grin. Now he simply studied her with mild interest as she swore at him and spun away to pace. "Always a slick answer, always a joke. I just want to slap you."
"Go ahead. I don't hit girls."
He knew that would do it. She stopped on a dime, swung around, all balled fists, quivering muscles, and fiery eyes. Her breath heaved as she fought for control, and her cheeks flushed with furious color. Under the wall of temper he'd built leaked a stream of sheer admiration for her willpower. She wanted to wail into him, but wouldn't give him the satisfaction. God, what a woman. "I prefer being civilized," she told him.
"No, you don't. But you're probably smart enough to know that if you take a swipe at me, we'll just end up in bed again. You lose control there, when I'm touching you, when I'm inside you. You forget to pick up all the emotional baggage you've carted around all your life, and it's just you and me."
"Maybe you're right. Maybe you're exactly right. But I can't spend my life in bed with you, and the baggage is right there waiting when I get up."
"So throw some of it out, Liv, and travel light."
"You're so smug, aren't you?" She detested the bitter taste of the words. "With your nice, cozy, suburban childhood, Mom and Dad puttering around the house on weekends, and you and all your pals ready to ride your bikes to the park after school." Progress, he thought, and settled into the fight. Finally, she was cutting through the shield.
"I'd say it wasn't quite like Beaver Cleaver, but you wouldn't know who the hell I was talking about since you didn't watch TV.
"That's right, I didn't, because my grandmother was afraid they'd run a story on my mother, or I'd turn it on and see one of her movies, or one of the movies made about her. I didn't go to school, because someone might have recognized me and there'd be talk, or there'd be an accident, or God knows. I didn't have my parents lazing around the house on a Sunday afternoon because one was dead and the other in prison."
"So how can you have a normal life now? That's a pitiful excuse for being afraid to trust your own feelings."
"And what if it is?" Shame tried to wash through her temper, but she dammed it up. "Who are you to judge me? Who have you lost? You can't know what it's like to lose one of the most vital people in your life to violence, to see it, to be part of it."
"For Christ's sake, my father was a cop. Every time he strapped on his weapon and left the house, I knew he might not come back. Some nights when he was late, I'd sit by the window in the dark and wait for his car."
He'd never told anyone that, not even his mother.
"I lost him 1,000 different ways over 1,000 different nights in my head. Don't tell me I don't understand. My heart breaks for you, for what you lost. But God damn it, don't tell me I don't understand."
Because it ripped at him, he swung around toward the door.
"The hell with this."
"Wait!" She would have rushed to the door to stop him, but her knees were shaking. "Please, I didn't think of it." Her eyes were damp and bleak. "I'm sorry. Don't go. Please don't go." I need air." She made it through the terrace doors, reached out for the banister, and held on to it. When she heard him step out behind her, she closed her eyes. Relief, shame, love ran through her in a twisting river. "I'm a mess, Noah. I've always set goals and marched right toward them. It was the only way I could get through everything. I put whatever happened out of my head for long periods of time and just focused on what I was going to do, what I would accomplish. I didn't make friends. I didn't put any effort into it. People were just a distraction. No, don't." She said it quietly and shifted aside when he brushed a hand over her hair. "I don't think I can tell you if you're touching me."
"You're shivering. Come inside and we'll talk."
"I'm better outside. I'm always better outside." She drew a deep breath. "I took my first lover 2 weeks after you came to see me at college. I let myself think I was a little in love with him, but I wasn't. I was in love with you. I fell in love with you when you sat down beside me on the riverbank near the beaver dam, and you listened to me. It wasn't a crush." She gathered the courage to turn then, to face him. "I was only 12, but I fell in love with you. When I saw you again, it was as if everything inside me had just been waiting. Just waiting, Noah. After you left, I closed all that off again. You were right, what you said about my turning my feelings on and off. I could. I did. I went to bed with someone else just to prove it. It was cold, calculated."
"I'd hurt you."
"Yes, and I made sure I remembered that. I made sure I could pull that out so you couldn't do it again. Even after all this time, I didn't want to believe you could understand what I felt. About what happened to my mother, to me, to my family. But I think a part of me always knew you were the only one who really could. The book isn't just for you."
"No, it isn't."
"I don't know if... I'm not sure." She broke off again, shook her head in frustration. "I wanted to make you go. I wanted to make you mad enough to go because no one's ever mattered to me the way you do. It terrifies me."
"I won't hurt you again, Liv."
"No, it's not that." Her eyes glowed against the dark. "It's the other way around this time. What's inside of me, what could be in there and could leap out one day and—"
"Stop it."
The order cut her off like a slap.
"You're not your father, any more than I'm mine."
"But you know yours, Noah." Still, for the first time, she reached out to touch him, laid a hand on his cheek. "Everything I feel for you, it fills me up inside. All the places I didn't know were empty. They're just full of you."
"Christ, Liv."
His voice went rough and thick.
"Can't you see it's the same for me?"
Yes, I can. I've been happier with you than I thought I could be. More with you than I thought I wanted to be. But even with that, I'm afraid of the things that you want, the things you have a right to expect. I don't know if I can give them to you, or how long it'll take me. But I do know I love you." She remembered the words he'd used to tell her and gave them back to him. "I'm so completely in love with you. Can that be enough for now?" He reached up to take the hand that rested on his cheek, to press his lips to the center of her palm like a promise.
"That's exactly enough for now."
Later, he dreamed of running through the forest, with the chill damp soaking through the fierce sweat on his skin and his heart galloping in wild hoofbeats in his chest. Because he couldn't find her, and the sound of her scream was like a sword slicing through his gut. He woke with a jerk to the pale silver of oncoming dawn, with the last fierce call of an owl dying in the air, and Olivia curled warm against him. The rain was holding off, but it would come before nightfall. Olivia could just smell the testing edge of it in the air as she guided her group into the trees. She'd done a head count of 15 and had been foolishly grateful to see Celia among them. The fact that she was there had been enough to help Olivia convince Noah to take some time in his quiet room to work. She explained the cycle of survival, succession, tolerance of the rainforest, the give and take, the nurturing of life by the dead. It was the trees that always caught the attention first, the sheer height of them. Out of habit, Olivia took the time to let her audience crane their necks, murmur in awe, snap their pictures while she talked of the significance and purpose of the overstory. It always took a while before people began to notice the smaller things. Her talks were never carved in stone. She was good at gauging the pace and rhythm of her group and gearing her talk to suit it. She moved along to point out the deep grooves that identified the bark of the Douglas fir, the faint purple cast of the cones of the western hemlock. Every tree had a purpose, even if it was to die and become a breeding ground for saplings, for fungi, for lichen. If it was to fall, striking others down, to leave a tear in the overstory so that busy annuals could thrive in the swath of sunlight. It always amused her when they moved deeper and the light became dimmer, greener, that her groups would become hushed, as if they'd just stepped into a church. As she lectured, she followed the familiar pattern, scanning faces to see who was listening, who was simply there because their parents or spouse had nagged them into it. She liked to play to those especially, to find something to intrigue them, so that when they stepped out into the light again, they took something of her world with them. A man caught her eye. He was tall, broad at the shoulders, with a fresh sunburn on his face that indicated someone unused to or unwise in the sun. He wore a hat and a long-sleeved shirt with jeans so obviously new they could have stood on their own. Despite the soft light, he kept his sunglasses in place. She couldn't see his eyes through the black lenses, but sensed they were on her face, that he was listening. She smiled at him, an automatic response to his attentiveness, and her gaze had already moved on when his body jerked in reaction. She had an avid amateur photographer in the group who was crouched by a nurse log, lens to fungi. She used his interest as a segue, identifying the oyster mushroom he was trying to capture on film. She shifted over, pointed out a ring of lovely pure white caps. "These are called destroying angels, and while rare here, are deadly." "They're so beautiful," someone commented. "Yes, beauty is often deadly." Her gaze was drawn back to the man in the sunglasses. He'd moved closer, and while most of the others were hunting up other groups of mushrooms and chattering, he stood still and silent, as if waiting. "Any of you who go on unguided hikes or camp in the area, please exercise caution. However appealing nature may be, however lovely, it has its own defenses. Don't think that if you see an animal has nibbled on a mushroom or a berry patch, that makes it safe. It's wiser, and your experience in the forest will be more enjoyable if you simply look." There was a peculiar tightness in her chest, a sensation that made her want to rub the heel of her hand between her breasts to loosen it. She recognized it, an early warning of a panic attack. Stupid, she told herself, taking steady breaths as she took the group on a winding trail around nurse logs and ferns. She was perfectly safe. There was nothing here but the forest she knew, and a handful of tourists. The man had moved closer yet, close enough so that she could see a light sheen of sweat on his face. She felt cold and vaguely queasy. The cool dampness— why was he sweating, she wondered? "The cool dampness," she began again, "in the Olympic rainforest provides the perfect environment for the exuberant growth you see around you. It supports the greatest weight of living matter per acre in the world. All the ferns, mosses, and lichens you see live here epiphytically, meaning they take their life on another plant, whether in the overstory of the forest, on the trunks of living trees, or in the corpse of a dead one." The image of her mother's body flashed into her mind. While many of the plants we see here grow elsewhere, it's only in this area that many of the species reach true perfection. Here on the west side of the Olympic Mountains, in the valleys of Haut, Quinault, and Queets, there is the ideal blend of saturation, mild temperatures, and topography in perfect proportions to support this prime temperate rainforest. The routine of lectures steadied her. The smattering of comments and questions engaged her mind. The call of an eagle had everyone looking up. Though this thick canopy barred the sky, Olivia used the moment to shift into an explanation of some of the birds and mammals found in the forest. The man in the sunglasses bumped against her, gripped her arm. She jolted and had nearly shoved him away when she saw he'd tripped in a tangle of vine maple. "I'm sorry." His voice was barely a whisper, but his hand stayed on her arm. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "You didn't. The vine maple's been tripping up hikers for centuries. Are you all right? You look a little shaky." You're so..." His fingers trembled on her arm. "You're very good at your job. I'm glad I came today." "Thank you. We want you to enjoy yourself." "Do I know you?"
"No."
His hand slid down her arm, brushed lightly over the back of hers, then dropped away.
"No, you don't know me."
"You look like someone. I can't quite place it. Have you—"
"Miss! Oh, Miss McBride, can you tell us what these are?"
"Yes, of course. Excuse me a minute." She skirted over to a trio of women who huddled around a large sheet of dark red lichen. "It's commonly called dog lichen. You can see, if you use your imagination, the illusion of dog's teeth in the rows." The pressure was back, like a vice around her ribs. She caught herself rubbing her hand where the man's fingers had brushed. She knew him, she told herself. There was something. She turned around to look at him again. He was gone. Heart pumping, she counted heads. 15. She'd signed on for 15, and she had 15. But he'd been there, first at the edges of the group, then close in. She walked over to Celia. "You're wonderful," Celia told her, and gave her a brilliant smile. "I want to live right here, with dog lichen and destroying angels and licorice ferns. I can't believe how much you know." "Sometimes I forget I'm supposed to entertain as well as educate and get too technical."
Celia skimmed her gaze over the group.
"Looks to me like everyone is well entertained."
"I hope so. Did you happen to notice a tall man, short gray hair, sunglasses, sunburned, good build, mid-60s, I guess?"
"Actually, I haven't paid much attention to the people. I got caught up. Lose someone?"
No, she said more firmly. "He must have been out on his own and just joined in for a bit. It's nothing." But she rubbed the back of her hand again. "Nothing." When she got back to the center, Olivia was pleased to see several members of her group had been interested enough to head to the book area. A good guided hike could generate nice sales of books.
"Why don't I buy you lunch?"
Celia asked. "Thanks, but I really have work." She caught the look, sighed a little. "You don't have to worry. I'm going to be chained to my desk for quite a while. Then I have an interior lecture scheduled and another guided hike, then another lecture. The only place I'll be alone until 6 o'clock is in my office."
"What time's the first lecture?"
3 o'clock.
"I'll be here."
"At this rate, I'll have to offer you a job." Celia laughed, then gave Olivia's shoulder a little squeeze.
"It's annoying, isn't it, having people hovering?"
"Yes." The minute she said it, she winced. "I'm sorry. That was rude. I didn't mean—"
"I'd hate it too,"
Celia interrupted, then surprised Olivia by kissing her cheek.
"We'll get along very well, Liv. I promise. I'll see you at 3.
Oddly amused, Olivia walked through the center to the concession area and picked up a Coke and a box of raisins to fortify her through the paperwork on her desk. She detoured, winding through each area on the way to her office. When she realized she was looking for the man with the sunburned face, she ordered herself to stop being an idiot. She pulled off her cap, stuck it in her back pocket, then carried her snack to her office. As she stepped inside, she checked her watch to gauge her time. 2 paces from her desk, she froze and stared at the single white rose lying across the blotter. The can of Coke slipped out of her hand and landed with a thud at her feet. His face had changed. 20 years. 20 years in prison had changed it. Somehow she'd known, but she hadn't been prepared. Breathing shallowly, she rubbed the hand he'd touched. "Daddy! Oh, God!" He'd been so close. He'd touched her. He'd put his hand on her, and she hadn't known who he was. She'd looked into his face and hadn't known him. All those years ago, with a security glass between them, Jamie had told him Olivia would never know him. his daughter, and she'd given him the absent smile of one stranger to another. He sat on a bench in deep shade, washed down pills with bottled water, wiped the clammy sweat from his face with a handkerchief. She would know him, he promised himself. Before another day passed, she would look at him and know him. Then it would be finished. 33. It irritated Noah that he couldn't connect with Lucas Manning. Unavailable, out of town, incommunicado. He wanted a follow-up interview, and he wanted it soon. Then there was Tanner himself. Oh, they'd talk again all right, Noah thought, as he pushed himself away from his laptop and paced to the window. He had a great deal to say to Sam Tanner. Maybe the son of a bitch thought the book would be a tool, perhaps even a weapon, but it was going to be neither. When it was done, it would be the truth, and when it was done, if he had any skill, it would be a closing for Olivia. The closing of that hideous part of her life, and the opening of their life together. She would be finished with her guided hike by now, he decided, and he could use a break from the book. So what was stopping him from going over to the center? She might be a little annoyed, accuse him of checking up on her. Well, that was something she'd have to get used to. He intended to spend the next 60 years, give or take, making sure she was safe and happy. He shut down his machine and walked downstairs through the empty house. The McBrides were at the lodge, and he imagined his mother had nudged them into having a meal with her, bless her heart. He checked the doors before he left, making sure they were secured, and as a cop's son, just shook his head at the locks. Anyone who wanted in, he thought, would get in. He'd learned that the hard way. Following instinct, he detoured toward the garden, and casting one guilty look over his shoulder, plucked a handful of flowers to take to Olivia. They'd make her smile, he thought, even as she pretended to be peeved that he'd stolen them from her grandfather. He straightened quickly at the sound of a car, and remembered he hadn't thought to hook his knife onto his belt. The wavering sun glinted off chrome and glass, then cleared so that he recognized Jamie Melbourne at the wheel. By the time he'd walked to the car, she'd shoved the door open and jumped out. "Are they all right? Is everyone all right?"
"Everyone's fine."
"Oh, God!" She leaned weakly against the fender, dragged a hand through her hair. She wasn't quite as polished as usual, he noted. Her makeup was sketchy, her eyes shadowed, and her simple slacks and blouse travel-crushed. All the way up here, I imagined all sorts of things." She dropped her hand, closed her eyes a moment. "My mother called me last night, told me. She said he'd been here, inside the house."
"It looks that way. Why don't you sit down?"
No, I've been sitting. On the plane, in the car. I couldn't get here any sooner. She didn't want me to come, but I had to. I had to be here."
"No one's seen him, at least not that I've heard. Lives at the center, and your parents are at the lodge with mine."
"Good. Okay." She heaved out a long breath. "I'm not a hysterical person. I think once you've faced the worst and survived it, you cope with anything. But I came very, very close to losing it last night. David was in Chicago, and I couldn't reach him for what seemed like hours. It probably wasn't more than 20 minutes until my brain clicked back and I thought of his cell phone." Because she looked as if she needed it, Noah gave her a smile.
"I love technology."
"I sure had good thoughts about it last night. Nothing's ever sounded so good as his voice. He's on his way. Canceled the rest of his meetings. We all need to be together until—" Her eyes went dark. "Until what, Noah?"
"Until it's over,"
was all he said. "Well, I better get my bag inside and have a good, stiff drink."
"I'll get it for you."
"No, it's just a carry-on. God knows what I threw in it this morning. I probably have a cocktail dress and hiking boots in there, and to be honest, I could use a few minutes on my own to pull it together."
"I just locked up."
He pulled the key Rob had unearthed for him out of his pocket. "I bet they haven't done that more than half a dozen times since I was born." She took the key, studied it. "How's my mother holding up?"
"She's tougher than you think. Maybe than she thought."
"I hope you're right," Jamie murmured as she opened the trunk and pulled out a tote. "Well, I've got about 6,000 calls to make to finish shifting my schedule around." She slung the tote strap over her shoulder, then glanced at the flowers in Noah's hand. "Going to see your girl?"
"That was the plan."
"I like your plan. I think you're good for her." She studied his face. "You're a sturdy one under it all, aren't you, Noah Brady?"
She'll never have to worry if I'll be there, never have to wonder if I love her.
"That's nice." The fatigue seemed to lift from her eyes. "I know just how important that is. It's funny. Julie wanted that. No, more than that. And I found it. I'm glad her daughter has too." He waited until she was in the house, until she'd locked the door behind her. With his senses alert, he walked into the trees to follow the trail to the center. From the shadows he watched, turning the weapon in his hand and weeping. Olivia was dead calm, and she was damn well going to stay that way. For 10 minutes after seeing the rose, she'd sat on the floor, shaking, but she hadn't run. She'd fought back the panic, pulled herself to her feet. She'd ordered herself to be calm and to act. As quietly as possible, she asked every member of the staff she could find if they'd noticed anyone going into her office. Each time the answer was no, and each time she followed it up by giving a description of her father as she'd seen him that morning. When she had all the answers she could gather, she walked outside and started toward the lodge.
"Hey!"
Her body wanted to jerk, and she forced it still, then absorbed the flow of relief when she saw Noah coming across the parking lot toward her. Normal, she promised herself. She would be normal. "My grandfather's going to scalp you for picking his prize lilies."
"No, he won't, because he'll know I was swept away by romance."
"You're an idiot. Thank you." She gave him the smile he'd expected, but there was strain at the edges.
"You need a break. Why don't you get someone to fill in for you the rest of the day?"
"I need to do my job. It's important to me. I was just about to go over and find Frank." She glanced around. People were coming and going, in and out of the lodge, the center, the forest. "Let's sit down a minute." She led him around the side and to a bench in the deep shade where her father had sat a short time before. "There's another white rose. It was on my desk in my office."
"Go inside the lodge."
Noah's voice was cool.
"I'll look around."
"No, wait. I questioned the staff. No one noticed anyone going into my office. But a couple of them did notice someone this morning when I was setting up the group out here. A tall man, short gray hair, sunburned. He wore dark glasses and a fielder's cap, stiff new jeans, and a blue long-sleeved shirt." She pressed her lips together. "I noticed him too, during the hike. He slipped into the group. I kept getting this feeling, this uneasiness, but I couldn't pin it down. He spoke to me. He touched my hand. I didn't recognize him. He's changed. He looks old, years older than he should, and hard. But part of me knew. And when I saw the rose, his face was right there. My father."
"What did he say to you, Liv?"
"It wasn't anything important. Just that I was good at my job, that he was glad he'd come. Funny, isn't it? 20 years down the road and he compliments me on my work." "I'm all right," she said, when Noah put his arm around her. "I'm okay. I always wondered what it would be like if I saw him again. It was nothing like I imagined. Noah, he didn't look like a monster. He looked ill and tired. How could he have done what he did? How could he be doing this now and just look tired?"
"I doubt he knows the answer to that himself. Maybe he's just caught up, Liv, in the then and the now, and he just can't stop."
He caught a movement, a bit of color, shifted his gaze, and watched Sam Tanner step out of the forest. Noah got to his feet, gripped a hand on Olivia's arm to pull her up beside him.
"Go to the lodge, find my father, then stay there."
She saw him too, just at the moment when he spotted them, when he stopped short on the far edge of the parking lot. They stared at each other in the windy silence as they had once stared at each other across a bloody floor. Then he turned and walked quickly toward the trees.
"Go find my father,"
Noah repeated, and in a quick movement unsnapped her knife sheath from her belt.
"Tell him what happened here, then stay."
He turned, took her hard by the shoulders.
"Do you hear me, Liv? You stay inside, with my mother. Call your aunt at the house. Tell her to stay put, with the doors locked."
"What? Aunt Jamie?"
"She got here just as I was leaving. Do it now."
She shook herself to break out of the fog, then watched in dull horror as Noah strapped her knife to his own belt. "No, you're not going after him." He simply gave her one steel-edged look, then turned her in the direction of the lodge.
"Go inside, now!"
"You won't find him!" She shouted it, snatching at Noah's arm as he strode away. "You don't know what he's capable of if you do!"
"He doesn't know what I'm capable of either. God damn it!"
He whirled on her, fury hardening his face.
"Love isn't enough. You have to trust me. Go get your cop, and let's deal with this."
With no choice, Olivia watched him sprint to the trees and vanish. Noah had to rely on his senses, his hearing straining to catch the rustling of brush. To the left, the right, straight ahead. As he moved deeper, the false-green twilight fell so that he strained his eyes, waiting to see a movement, the subtle sway of a low branch, the vibration of a thickly tangled vine. He was younger, faster, but the forest itself could cloak prey as well as hunter. He moved deeper, keeping his breathing slow and even so the soft sound of it wouldn't distract him. As he walked, his boots treading silently on the cushion of moss, he could hear the low rumble of thunder. A storm was brewing.
"There's no point in running, Tanner,"
he called out as he closed his hand over the hilt of Olivia's knife. It never occurred to him to wonder if he could use it.
"It's already over. You'll never get to her. You'll never touch her."
His own voice echoed back to him, cold and still, and was followed by the strident call of a bird and the rush of wind through high branches. Instinct had him winding in the direction of the house, into the thick beauty of the ripe summer forest, past the gleaming white river of deadly mushrooms, around the delicate sea of fanning ferns. Rain began to hiss through the canopy and slither in thin trickles to the greedy green ground.
"She's your own daughter. What good will it do you? What point is there in hurting her now?" "None."
Sam stepped out from the bulk of a fir. The gun in his trembling hand gleamed dull silver.
"There was never a point, never a reason. I thought you knew."
Olivia hit the doors of the lobby and burst inside. She looked frantically right and left. Guests were milling around or parked on the sofas and chairs. The hum of conversation roared in her ears. She didn't know where to find Frank. The dining room, the library, his own suite, one of the terraces. The lodge was a honeycomb of rooms and carefully arranged spaces where guests could loiter at their leisure. Noah was already in the forest. She couldn't take the time. She spun on her heel, raced to the front desk. "Mark?" She grabbed the young desk clerk, dragged him toward the door leading to the back rooms. "My grandparents, have you seen them?"
"An hour or so ago. They came through with some people. What's the matter? What's the problem?"
"Listen to me." Panic was trying to claw through control. "Listen carefully, it's important. I need you to find Frank Brady. He's a guest here. I need you to find him as quickly as you can. You tell him... Are you listening to me?"
"Yeah."
His Adam's apple bobbed.
"Sure, Frank Brady."
"You find him, and you find him fast. You tell him that Sam Tanner went into the forest, the east side, Lowland Trail. Have you got that?"
"East side, Lowland Trail."
"Tell him Noah went after him. Tell him that. Get one of the staff to call my house. My aunt's there. She's to stay inside. It's vital that she stay inside and wait to hear from me. No one's to go into the forest. Make an announcement. No one's to go in there until I clear it. Do whatever you can to keep guests in or around the lodge, whatever it takes."
"Inside? But why?"
"Just do it," she snapped. "Do it now." And shoving him aside, she sprinted into the rear office. She needed something, anything, some kind of weapon, a defense. Frantic, she swept her hands over the desk, yanked open drawers. She saw the scissors, the long silver blades, and snatched at them. Was it justice, she wondered, as they trembled in her hand? Or was it just fate? She slid the blades under her belt, secured the eyes of the handles, and bolted. The rain began to fall as she raced out of the clearing and into the trees. Noah's mind was clear as glass, detached from the physical jeopardy of the gun and focused on the man. A part of him knew he could die here, in the verdant darkness, but he moved past it and faced whatever hand fate had begun to deal him 20 years before.
"No point, Sam. All of it, all those years you spent away, come down to you and me, standing in the rain. You're just a bonus. I didn't expect to talk to you again. I've got some tapes for you, for the book. Still looking to be the star? I won't make you one. Do you think I'll let you walk out of here, give her one more moment's pain? You'll never touch her." I did.
Sam lifted his free hand, rubbed his thumb and fingertips together.
I was so close I could smell her. Just soap. She grew up so pretty. She has a stronger face than Julie's. Not as beautiful, but stronger. She looked at me. She looked right at me and didn't know me. Why would she?
He murmured.
Why would she know me? I've been as dead to her as her mother for 20 years. Is that why you arranged all this? To come alive for her? Start me on the book so I'd dig up old memories? Put you back in her head so when you got out, you could start on her? I wanted her to remember me. God damn it, I'm her father. I wanted her to remember me.
He lifted his hand again, drilled his fingertips into his temple where pain began to hammer.
I've got a right to at least that. You lost your rights to her.
Noah edged closer.
You're not part of her anymore. Maybe not, but she's part of me. I've waited nearly a third of my life just to tell her that. And to terrify her because she knows what you are? She saw what you were. She was a baby, innocent, and taking that innocence wasn't enough? You sent the music box to remind her that you weren't done, and the phone calls, the white roses. Roses.
A dreamy smile came to his lips.
I used to put a white rose on her pillow. My little princess.
He pressed his hand to the side of his head again, dragging it back, knocking his cap aside.
They don't make drugs like they used to. The kind I remember, you'd never feel the pain.
He blinked, his eyes narrowing abruptly.
Music box.
He gestured with the gun, an absent gesture that had Noah halting.
What music box? The Blue Fairy. The one you broke the night you knocked your wife around in Olivia's room. I don't remember. I was coked to my eyeballs.
Then his eyes cleared.
The Blue Fairy. I knocked it off her dresser, I remember. She cried, and I told her I'd buy her another one. I never did. You sent her one a few days ago. No, I'd forgotten. I should have made that up to her. I shouldn't have made her cry. She was such a good little girl. She loved me.
Despite the cold wall of rage, pity began to eke through.
You're sick, and you're tired. Put the gun down, and I'll take you back. For what? More doctors, more drugs? I'm already dead, Brady. I've been dead for years. I just wanted to see her again, just once. And just once, I wanted her to see me. She's all I have left. Put the gun down.
With a puzzled expression, Sam glanced down at the gun in his hand. Then he began to laugh.
You think this is for you? It's for me. I didn't have the guts to use it. I've been gutless all my fucking life. And you know what, Brady? You know what I figured out when I stuck the barrel in my mouth, when I had my finger on the trigger and couldn't pull it?
His voice became confident and clear.
I didn't kill Julie. I wouldn't have had the guts. Let's go talk about it.
As Noah stepped forward, reaching out with one hand for the gun, there was a crash in the brush, a blur of movement. He felt pain rip along his shoulder as he turned, heard a scream that wasn't his own. He saw David Melbourne's contorted face as the force of the attack sent him ramming against Sam, tumbling them both to the ground. Noah rolled aside, agony spearing through his wounded shoulder as he thrust his hands up, caught the wrist of David's knife hand. Noah's lips peeled back in a snarl of effort as his bloody hands began to slip. The blade stabbed into the rain-slimed moss, a breath from his face. Rearing up, Noah bucked him aside, then rolled for the gun that lay on the ground. As he snatched it up, David fled into the trees.
I never thought of him.
With the side of his face scratched and oozing blood, Sam crawled over. His eyes were glassy from the pain rolling inside his head.
I should have known, because I never thought of him. A dozen other men, I thought of them. She would never have looked at them. That was my delusion. But I thought of them. Never him.
As he spoke, he fumbled to tie his handkerchief around the gash in Noah's shoulder.
You should have just waited for me to die, instead of trying to kill me.
Wincing against the pain, Noah gripped Sam's shirt front.
Not you. It's Olivia he wants now. No. Fear coated over the agony in his eyes. "No, not Livy. We have to find him. Stop him." There wasn't time to debate. "He's heading deeper in, but he may circle around, head toward the house." Noah hesitated only a moment. "Take this." He unsnapped Olivia's sheath. "They're looking for you by now. If my father comes across you with a gun—" "Frank's here?" "That's right. Melbourne won't get far. You head toward the house. I'll do what I can to pick up his trail." "Don't let him hurt Livy." Noah checked the safety on the gun and raced into the green. Olivia wanted to rush headlong into the trees, run blindly through the shadows, shout for Noah. It took every ounce of control to move slowly, to look for signs. Her turf, she reminded herself, but there'd been dozens of people in that edge of the forest, leaving crisscrossing prints. The ground was percolating with rain now, and she would lose even these prints if she didn't choose soon. He'd come in at a sprint, she remembered, and judged the length between strides. Noah had long legs. So did her father. She headed due south and into the gloom. The rain was alive, murmuring as it forced its way through the tangle of vines and drapery overhead. The air was thick with it, and the pervasive scent of rot. Small creatures scurried away, sly rustles in the dripping brush. And as the wind cooled the treetops, a thin fog skinned over the ground and smoked over her boots. She moved more quickly now, trying to outpace the fear. Every shadow was a terror, every shape a threat. Ferns, slick with rain, slithered around her legs as she hurried deeper into the forest and farther away from safety. She lost the trail, backtracked, could have wept with frustration. The quiet chuckle of panic began to dance in her chest. She focused on the forest floor, searching for a sign, and caught her breath with relief, with something almost like triumph, when she picked up the tracks again. Nerves skipped and skidded over her skin as she followed the trail of the man she loved, and of the man who'd shattered her life. When she heard the scream, fear plunged into her heart like a killing blade. She forgot logic, she forgot caution, and ran as though her life depended on it. Her feet slipped, sliding wild over the moldering ground. Fallen logs seemed to throw themselves into her path, forcing her to leap and stumble. Fungi, slimy with rain, burst wetly under her boots. She went down hard, tearing moss with the heels of her hands, sending shock waves stinging into her knees. She lunged to her feet, breathless, pushed herself off the rough bark of a hemlock, and pushed blindly through vines that snaked out to snatch at her arms and legs. She beat and ripped at them, fought her way clear. Rain soaked her hair, dripped into her eyes. She blinked it away and saw the blood. It was soaking into the ground, going pale with wet. Shaking, she dropped to her knees, touched her fingertips to the stain, and brought them back, red and wet. "Not again! No, not again!" She rocked herself, mourning in the sizzle of rain, cringing into a ball as the fear hammered at her, screamed into her mind, burst through her body like a storm of ice. "Noah!" She shouted at once, listened to the grieving echo of it. Shoving to her feet, she ran her smeared fingers over her face, then screamed it. With her only thought to find him, she began to run. He'd lost his direction, but he thought he still had the scent of his quarry. The gun was familiar in his hand now, as if it had always been there. He never doubted he could use it. It was part of him now. Everything that was primitive about the world he was in was inside him now. Life and death, and the cold-blooded will to survive. 20 years the man had hidden what he was, what he'd done. He'd let another grow old in a cage, had played the devoted husband to his victim's sister, the indulgent uncle to her daughter. Murder, bloody murder had been locked inside him, while he prospered, while he posed. And when the key had started to turn in the door to Sam Tanner's cage, it had set murder free again. The break-ins, the attack on Mike, an attempt to stop the book, Noah thought as he moved with deliberate strides through the teeming woods, to beat back the guilt, the fear of exposure that must have tried to claw out of him hundreds of times over 20 long years. And once again, he'd turned the focus on Sam, once again structured his acts to point the accusations at an innocent man. But this time it was Olivia he'd hunted. fear that she'd seen him that night, would remember some small detail that had been tucked in a corner of her mind all this time, a detail that might jibe with a story Sam wanted to tell. Yes, it was logical. The cold-blooded logic that would fit a man who could murder his wife's sister, then live cozily with her family for another generation. Then the balance had shifted on him with the possibility of a book, another in-depth look at the case, the interviews with Olivia urging her to talk about the night her family had conveniently buried along with Julie. But she couldn't talk, couldn't think, couldn't remember if she was too afraid, or if she was dead. Then he heard her scream his name. The monster was back. The smell of him was blood. The sound of him was terror. She had no choice but to run, and this time to run toward him. The lush wonder of forest that had once been her haven, that had always been her sanctuary, spun into a nightmare. The towering majesty of the trees was no longer a grand testament to nature's vigor, but a living cage that could trap her, conceal him. The luminous carpet of moss was a bubbling bog that sucked at her boots. She ripped through ferns, rending their sodden fans to slimy tatters, skidded over a rotted log, and destroyed the burgeoning life it nursed. Green shadows slipped in front of her, beside her, behind her, seemed to whisper her name. "Livy, my love, let me tell you a story." Breath sobbed out of her lungs, set to grieving by fear and loss. The blood that still stained her fingertips had gone ice cold. Rain fell, a steady drumming against the wind-swept canopy, a sly trickle over lichen-draped bark. It soaked into the greedy ground until the whole world was wet and ripe and somehow hungry. She forgot if she was hunter or hunted, only knew in some deep primal instinct that movement was survival. She would find him, or he would find her, and somehow it would be finished. She would not end as a coward, and if there was any light in the world, she would find the man she loved alive. She curled the blood she knew was his into the palm of her hand and held it like hope. Fog snaked around her boots, broke apart at her long, reckless strides. Her heartbeat battered her ribs, her temples, her fingertips in a feral, pulsing rhythm. She heard the crack overhead, the thunder snap of it, and leaped aside as a branch, weighed down by water and wind and time, crashed to the forest floor. A little death that meant fresh life. She closed her hand over the only weapon she had, and knew she would kill to live. And through the deep green light haunted by darker shadows, she saw the monster as she remembered him in her nightmares, covered with blood and watching her. Fury that was as much hate as fear spurted through her in a bitter kind of power. "Where's Noah? What have you done to him?" He was on his knees, his hand pressed to his side where blood spilled out of him. The pain was so huge it reached to the bone, to the bowels. "Livy." He whispered it, both prayer and plea. "Run." "I've been running from you all my life." She stepped closer, driven forward by a need that had slept inside her since childhood. "Where's Noah?" she repeated. "I swear I'll kill you if you've taken someone else I love." "Not me. Not then. Not now." His vision wavered. She seemed to sway in front of him, tall and slim with her mother's eyes. "He's still close. For God's sake, run!" They heard it at the same moment, the thrashing through the brush. She spun around, her heart leaping with hope. At her feet, Sam's tripped with terror. "Stay away from her!"
Sheer will pushed him to stand. He tried to shove Olivia behind him, but only collapsed against her.
You should have died in prison.
David's face was wet with rain and blood. The knife in his hand ran with both.
None of this would have happened if you'd just died.
Uncle David! The shock of seeing him, his eyes wild, his clothes splattered, had her stepping forward. With a strength born of desperation, Sam jerked her back, held her hard against him.
He killed her. Listen to me, he killed her. He wanted her and couldn't have her. Don't go near him. Step away from him, Livy. Come here to me. I want you to run, Sam said urgently. Run the way you did that night and find a place to hide. Find Noah. You know better than to listen to him.
David's smile made her blood go cold.
You saw what he did to her that night. He was never good enough for her, never right. I've always been there for you. Haven't I, Livy? She never wanted you.
Sam's voice was slurred and slow as he fought to stay conscious.
She never loved anyone but me. Shut up!
The parody of a smile became a snarl. His face flushed dark and ugly.
It should have been me. She would have come to me if you hadn't gotten in the way.
Oh, God! Oh, my God! Olivia stared at David and braced to take her father's weight. You! It was you!
She should have listened to me. I loved her. I always loved her. She was so beautiful, so perfect. I would have treated her like an angel. What did he do for her? He dragged her down, made her miserable, only thought of himself. You're right. I treated her badly.
Sam slumped against Olivia, murmured,
Run.
But she only shook her head and held on to him.
I didn't deserve her. I would have given her everything.
Tears slipped out of David's eyes now, and his knife hand dropped to his side.
She would never have been unhappy with me. I settled for second best and gave Jamie everything I would have given Julie. Why should I have settled when she was finally going to divorce you, when she finally saw you for what you were? She was meant to come to me then. It was meant. You went to the house that night.
Sam's side was numb. He levered himself straight, caught his breath, and prayed for the strength to step away from his daughter.
Do you know how much courage it took for me to go to her, to give her everything that was in my heart? She let me in and smiled at me. She was doing her clippings and having a glass of wine. The music was on, her favorite, Tchaikovsky. She said it was nice to have company. She trusted you. I poured my soul out to her. I told her I loved her, always had, that I wanted her, that I was leaving Jamie and we could be together. She looked at me as if I were insane, pushed me away when I tried to hold her. She told me to leave, and we'd forget I'd ever spoken of it. Forget!
He spat the word out. She loved my father, Olivia murmured. She loved my father.
She was wrong. I only tried to convince her she was wrong. I only wanted to make her see. If she hadn't struggled against me, I wouldn't have ripped her robe. Then she turned on me, shouted at me to get out of the house. She said she would tell Jamie everything. She said I was scum. Scum! That she would never see me again, never speak to me. I couldn't hear what she was saying. It was so vile. She turned her back on me, turned away as if I were nothing. And the scissors were in my hand. Then they were in her. I think she screamed, he said softly. I'm not sure. I don't know. I only remember the blood.
His eyes focused again, fixed on Olivia.
It was an accident, really. One moment, one terrible mistake. But I couldn't take it back, could I? I couldn't change it.
She had to be calm, Olivia ordered herself. Her father was bleeding badly. She had no doubt that she could outdistance and lose her uncle in the forest. But how could she leave her father? How could she run away and hide again? She would stand, protect, and pray for help to come. You held me while I cried for her.
I cried too.
It enraged David that she didn't understand, just like her mother, just like Julie.
If she'd only listened, it would never have happened. Why should I have to pay for that? He's the one who hurt her. He's the one who deserved to pay. I had to protect myself, my life. I had to get out. There was so much blood, I was nearly sick.
"How did you get out of the house and back home?" Olivia asked, and strained her ears for a sound, heard only the thrashing of rain. "Aunt Jamie would have seen the blood."
I stripped off my clothes, bundled them up. I went outside to the pool and washed the blood off. I washed it all away. There were always spare clothes in the changing house. No one would ever notice. I could get rid of my own later, a dumpster in the city. I went back in the house because I thought it might be a dream, but it wasn't. I thought I heard you upstairs. I thought I heard you, but I couldn't be sure."
"I woke up. I heard Mama scream."
"Yes, I found out later. I had to get home in case Jamie woke up and realized I'd slipped out. It wasn't until they brought you to us that I wondered if you'd seen me. I wondered if you'd heard. 20 years I've wondered. I've waited."
"No, I didn't see you. I never knew."
It would have stayed that way. Everyone put it aside. Everyone closed the door until the book. How could I be sure? How could I know for sure that you hadn't heard my voice, that you hadn't looked out the window, seen my car? It ruined my life, don't you see? I'd done everything to make it work, everything to make up for that one single night.
"You let my father go to prison."
"I was in prison too."
Tears leaked out of his eyes.
"I was paying too. I knew you'd be just like her. I knew when it came down to a choice you'd choose him. I always loved you, Livy. You should have been ours, mine and Julie's. But that's over now. I have to protect myself. I have to end it."
He lunged toward her, leading with the knife. It was like his dream, the dark, the trees, the murmur of rain and wind. He could run until his heart burst out of his chest, and he couldn't find her. Every rustle had him turning in a new direction. Every call of a night bird was the sound of her voice. The bone-numbing terror that he would be too late, that he would never wake up from this nightmare and find her curled against him, drove him harder. She was somewhere in the vast, twisting maze of the forest, somewhere just beyond his reach. He stopped, leaning against the bulk of a hemlock to clear the tumble of his mind. The air was so thick, every breath he took was like gulping in water. His shoulder was on fire, the white handkerchief tied over the wound long since gone red. He stood very still for a moment and listened. Was that the murmur of voices, or just the rain? Sound seemed to shoot at a dozen different angles, then swallow itself. The only compass he had now was his gut. Trusting it, he turned west. This time, when she screamed, he was close. Sam shoved her clear, and with the little strength he had left, drove his body into David's. When the knife sliced through him again, he felt nothing but despair. As he staggered and fell, Olivia leaped to her feet and tried to catch him. It happened quickly, her father slipping out of her hands, the sound of running feet slapping against the saturated ground, and the quick prick of a knife at her throat.
"Let her go!"
Noah braced his feet, held the gun in the classic police grip. Fear was a hot river in his blood.
"I'll kill her. You know I will. Drop the gun or I'll slice her throat and be done with it." "And lose your shield? I don't think so."
"Oh, God, live. Oh, God, don't move." He gazed quickly at her face, saw the blank shock in her eyes, the thin trickle of red sliding down the slim column of her throat.
"Step away from her. Step back."
"Put the gun down."
He jerked Olivia's head up with the flat of the blade.
"She's dead. Do you hear me? She's dead if you don't do it now."
"He'll kill me anyway."
"Shut up. Shut the hell up."
He nicked her again, and she saw Noah's hands jerk, then start to lower.
"Don't do it. Don't hurt her."
"Put it down."
She heard the roar of their voices in her head, saw the decision in Noah's eyes. "He'll kill me no matter what you do. Then he'll kill you. Don't let him take someone else I love. Don't let him win." Her hand closed over the cold metal eyes of the scissors, drew them out in one quick, smooth motion, then plunged them viciously into his thigh. He screamed high and bright, his knife hand jerking up, then dropping. She shoved her body away from his, yanking the scissors clear, then held them out as he leaped toward her. She heard the bullet ring out, one sharp snap, saw the bright blossom of blood bloom high on his chest, and the puzzled shock in his eyes as he fell toward her. She didn't step back, and she would never ask herself if she'd had time to do so. The killing point of the scissors slid silently into his belly. The weight of him bore her to the ground. Before she could roll clear, Noah pulled her up and against him. His arms that had been so steady began to quiver.
"You're all right. You're okay."
He said it again, then once again as his hands ran shakily over her.
"He cut you."
His fingers brushed gently at her throat.
"Oh, God, Liv."
She was crushed against him again, burrowed into him. Her head went light, seemed to circle somewhere just beyond her shoulders. "I thought he might have killed you. I saw the blood and I thought—" "No!" She jerked back, her hands vicing on Noah's face. "Daddy!" She pulled away and stumbled to the ground beside her father. "Oh, no, no, no! Don't! Please! I'm so sorry! I'm sorry, Daddy!" She had nothing but her hands to press against his wound, to try to stem the bleeding.
"Don't cry, Livy."
He reached up to touch her face.
"This is the best way for me. My time's running out anyway. I needed to see you again. It was the last thing I had to do. You've got your mother's eyes."
He smiled a little.
"You always did. I let her down in so many ways."
"Don't! Please don't!" She pressed her face to his neck. "Noah, help me!"
If I'd been what I should have been, what she believed I could be, she'd still be alive.
"Don't talk now. We have to stop the bleeding. They'll find us soon." Her hands fumbled with the scraps of cloth Noah gave her. "They're looking, and we'll get you to the hospital."
"You're a smart girl. You know better."
His eyes were clouding over, but they shifted to Noah.
"She's a smart one, isn't she, Brady?" "That's right."
He pressed another scrap of his shirt to the wound in Sam's side.
"So listen to her." "I'd rather die a hero."
His short laugh ended in a racking cough.
"There's enough of the old me in here to rather enjoy that. Is that son of a bitch dead?"
"As Moses," Noah told him.
"Thank Christ for that."
The pain was floating away.
"Livy,"
he gripped her hand.
"When I was looking for you that night, when you saw me, I wasn't going to hurt you."
"I know that. I know. Don't leave me now that I've just gotten you back."
"I'm sorry, Livy. I wanted you to look at me once, just once, and know who I was. In the end, I kept you safe. Maybe that makes up for all the years I didn't."
His vision wavered and dimmed.
"Write the book, Brady. Tell the truth. Count on it. Take care of my little girl. Kiss me goodbye, Livy, love."
With tears flooding her throat, she pressed her lips to his cheek and felt his hand go lax in hers. Her grief was one long, low moan. Noah sat with her while she cradled her father's body and wept in the rain. She slept because Noah poured a sedative down her throat. When she woke, logy with drugs and grief and shock, it was midday. She heard the bird song, felt the sun on her face, and opening her eyes, saw him sitting beside her. "You didn't sleep." He was already holding her hand. He couldn't seem to let go.
"I did for a bit."
"Everything that happened, it's all in my head, but it feels as if it's wrapped in cotton."
"Just leave it that way for now."
He looked so wonderful, she thought, so hers, with his exhausted eyes and stubble of beard. "You saved my life."
"Just part of the service."
He leaned down to kiss her.
"Don't make me do it again."
"That's a deal. How's your shoulder?"
"Well, I could say it's nothing, but why lie? It hurts like a bitch."
She sat up, tugged up the sleeve of his t-shirt, and pressed her lips to the bandage.
"Thanks. Why don't you try to get some more sleep?"
"No, I really need to get out." She looked into his eyes. "I need to walk. Walk in the forest with me, Noah." When she was dressed, she held out a hand for his. "My family?"
"They're still asleep. Your grandparents were up with Jamie until almost dawn."
She nodded, started out quietly. Your parents?
In the spare room.
They'll need us, all of them. I need this first.
They went down the back stairs and left through the kitchen door.
Your father, she began, when they found us, I don't think he knew whether he was proud of you or horrified. She let out a breath, drew another in. I think he was both.
He taught me how to handle guns, to respect them. I know he hoped I'd never have to use one.
I don't know how to feel, Noah. All these years I thought my father was a murderer, the worst kind of murderer. I lost him when I was 4, and now I have him back. I have him back in a way that changes everything, and I can never tell him.
He knew.
It helps to have that, to hold on to that. She tightened her hand on his as they moved into the trees. I didn't run. I didn't leave him. This time I didn't run and hide. I can live with all the rest because this time I didn't run.
Liv, you gave him exactly what he wanted at the end of his life. You looked at him and you knew him. He told me that was the last thing he needed.
She nodded, absorbing that into the grief. All my life, I loved my uncle. I shifted him into my father figure, admired him, trusted him. He wasn't what I thought he was, any more than my father was what I thought he was. Oh, God. God, Noah, how is Aunt Jamie going to cope with this? How is she going to live with it?
She has you, your family. She'll get through it.
I hope she'll stay here, for a while at least. Stay here and heal.
I think she needs to hear you say just that.
She nodded again and leaned against him a little. You're good at knowing what people need to hear. She let out a sigh. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to come in here again and feel what I've always felt. But I can. It's so beautiful, so alive. No monsters here.
Not ever again.
I love this place.
It had sheltered her, given her life. Now she had a choice, to stay with the old or to start the new. She let go of Noah's hand, turned in a circle.
But there's this other spot along the coast, heavily wooded, excellent old forest with a view of the Pacific raging up against the cliffs.
She stopped, met his eyes soberly.
That's where we should build the house.
He stared at her while a rage of emotions gushed into him, then settled in quiet joy. How many bedrooms?
5, as previously discussed.
Okay. Stone or wood?
Both.
Her lips twitched. Her eyes glowed now as he nodded and stepped toward her. When?
As soon as you ask me to marry you, which you've neglected to do so far.
I knew I'd forgotten something. She laughed when he hauled her into his arms. I've waited a long time for you. He brushed his lips over hers, then lingered, deepened the kiss. Don't make me wait any more. Marry me.
Yes.
She framed his face with her hands.
Between the forest and the flowers. And soon.
She smiled at him, drawing him close to touch her lips to his cheeks.
I love you, Noah. I want to start a life with you. Now. We've both waited long enough.
We hope you have enjoyed our presentation of River's End by Nora Roberts, copyright 1999 by Nora Roberts, and performance copyright 1999 by Brilliance Corporation, all rights reserved. For further information concerning this program or other Brilliance audio titles, please call the following toll-free number, 1-800-222-3225. No part of this recording may be played for an audience or reproduced in any form without written permission. Address all inquiries to Brilliance Corporation, Post Office Box 887, Grand Haven, Michigan, 49417. Away. There were always spare clothes in the changing house. No one would ever notice. I could get rid of my own later, a dumpster in the city. I went back in the house because I thought it might be a dream, but it wasn't. I thought I heard you upstairs. I thought I heard you, but I couldn't be sure.
I woke up. I heard Mama scream.
Yes, I found out later. I had to get home in case Jamie woke up and realized I'd slipped out. It wasn't until they brought you to us that I wondered if you'd seen me. I wondered if you'd heard. 20 years I've wondered. I've waited.
No, I didn't see you. I never knew.
It would have stayed that way. Everyone put it aside. Everyone closed the door until the book. How could I be sure? How could I know for sure that you hadn't heard my voice, that you hadn't looked out the window, seen my car? It ruined my life, don't you see? I'd done everything to make it work, everything to make up for that one single night.
You let my father go to prison.
I was in prison, too.
Tears leaked out of his eyes.
I was paying, too. I knew you'd be just like her. I knew when it came down to a choice you'd choose him. I always loved you, Livy. You should have been ours, mine and Julie's. But that's over now. I have to protect myself. I have to end it.
He lunged toward her, leading with the knife. It was like his dream, the dark, the trees, the murmur of rain and wind. He could run until his heart burst out of his chest, and he couldn't find her. Every rustle had him turning in a new direction. Every call of a night bird was the sound of her voice. The bone-numbing terror that he would be too late, that he would never wake up from this nightmare and find her curled against him, drove him harder. She was somewhere in the vast, twisting maze of the forest, somewhere just beyond his reach. He stopped, leaning against the bulk of a hemlock to clear the tumble of his mind. The air was so thick, every breath he took was like gulping in water. His shoulder was on fire, the white handkerchief tied over the wound long since gone red. He stood very still for a moment and listened. Was that the murmur of voices, or just the rain? Sound seemed to shoot at a dozen different angles, then swallow itself. The only compass he had now was his gut. Trusting it, he turned west. This time, when she screamed, he was close. Sam shoved her clear, and with the little strength he had left, drove his body into David's. When the knife sliced through him again, he felt nothing but despair. As he staggered and fell, Olivia leaped to her feet and tried to catch him. It happened quickly, her father slipping out of her hands, the sound of running feet slapping against the saturated ground, and the quick prick of a knife at her throat.
Let her go!
Noah braced his feet, held the gun in the classic police grip. Fear was a hot river in his blood.
I'll kill her. You know I will. Drop the gun or I'll slice her throat and be done with it. And lose your shield? I don't think so.
Oh, God, live. Oh, God, don't move. He gazed quickly at her face, saw the blank shock in her eyes, the thin trickle of red sliding down the slim column of her throat.
Step away from her. Step back. Put the gun down.
He jerked Olivia's head up with the flat of the blade.
She's dead. Do you hear me? She's dead if you don't do it now.
He'll kill me anyway.
Shut up. Shut the hell up.
He nicked her again, and she saw Noah's hands jerk, then start to lower.
Don't do it. Don't hurt her. Put it down.
She heard the roar of their voices in her head, saw the decision in Noah's eyes. He'll kill me no matter what you do. Then he'll kill you. Don't let him take someone else I love. Don't let him win. Her hand closed over the cold metal eyes of the scissors, drew them out in one quick, smooth motion, then plunged them viciously into his thigh. He screamed high and bright, his knife hand jerking up, then dropping. She shoved her body away from his, yanking the scissors clear, then held them out as he leaped toward her. She heard the bullet ring out, one sharp snap, saw the bright blossom of blood bloom high on his chest, and the puzzled shock in his eyes as he fell toward her. She didn't step back, and she would never ask herself if she'd had time to do so. The killing point of the scissors slid silently into his belly. The weight of him bore her to the ground. Before she could roll clear, Noah pulled her up and against him. His arms that had been so steady began to quiver.
You're all right. You're okay.
He said it again, then once again as his hands ran shakily over her.
He cut you.
His fingers brushed gently at her throat.
Oh, God, live.
She was crushed against him again, burrowed into him. Her head went light, seemed to circle somewhere just beyond her shoulders. I thought he might have killed you. I saw the blood and I thought, no! She jerked back, her hands vicing on Noah's face. Daddy! She pulled away and stumbled to the ground beside her father. Oh, no, 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 don't, please. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Daddy. She had nothing but her hands to press against his wound, to try to stem the bleeding.
"Don't cry, Livy."
He reached up to touch her face.
"This is the best way for me. My time's running out anyway. I needed to see you again. It was the last thing I had to do. You've got your mother's eyes."
He smiled a little.
"You always did. I let her down in so many ways."
"Don't, please don't." She pressed her face to his neck. "Noah, help me."
"If I'd been what I should have been, what she believed I could be, she'd still be alive."
"Don't talk now. We have to stop the bleeding. They'll find us soon." Her hands fumbled with the scraps of cloth Noah gave her. "They're looking, and we'll get you to the hospital."
"You're a smart girl. You know better."
His eyes were clouding over, but they shifted to Noah.
"She's a smart one, isn't she, Brady?" "That's right."
He pressed another scrap of his shirt to the wound in Sam's side.
"So listen to her. I'd rather die a hero."
His short laugh ended in a racking cough.
"There's enough of the old me in here to rather enjoy that. Is that son of a bitch dead?"
"As Moses," Noah told him.
"Thank Christ for that."
The pain was floating away.
"Livy,"
he gripped her hand.
"When I was looking for you that night, when you saw me, I wasn't going to hurt you."
"I know that. I know. Don't leave me now that I've just gotten you back."
"I'm sorry, Livy. I wanted you to look at me once, just once, and know who I was. In the end, I kept you safe. Maybe that makes up for all the years I didn't."
His vision wavered and dimmed.
"Write the book, Brady. Tell the truth. Count on it. Take care of my little girl. Kiss me goodbye, Livy, love."
With tears flooding her throat, she pressed her lips to his cheek and felt his hand go lax in hers. Her grief was one long, low moan. Noah sat with her while she cradled her father's body and wept in the rain. She slept because Noah poured a sedative down her throat. When she woke, logy with drugs and grief and shock, it was midday. She heard the bird song, felt the sun on her face, and opening her eyes, saw him sitting beside her. "You didn't sleep." He was already holding her hand. He couldn't seem to let go.
"I did for a bit."
"Everything that happened, it's all in my head, but it feels as if it's wrapped in cotton."
"Just leave it that way for now."
He looked so wonderful, she thought, so hers, with his exhausted eyes and stubble of beard. "You saved my life."
"Just part of the service."
He leaned down to kiss her.
"Don't make me do it again."
"That's a deal. How's your shoulder?"
"Well, I could say it's nothing, but why lie? It hurts like a bitch."
She sat up, tugged up the sleeve of his T-shirt, and pressed her lips to the bandage.
"Thanks. Why don't you try to get some more sleep?"
"No, I really need to get out." She looked into his eyes. "I need to walk. Walk in the forest with me, Noah." When she was dressed, she held out a hand for his. "My family?"
"They're still asleep. Your grandparents were up with Jamie until almost dawn."
She nodded, started out quietly. "Your parents?"
"In the spare room."
"They'll need us, all of them. I need this first." They went down the back stairs and left through the kitchen door. "Your father," she began, "when they found us, I don't think he knew whether he was proud of you or horrified." She let out a breath, drew another in. "I think he was both."
"He taught me how to handle guns, to respect them. I know he hoped I'd never have to use one."
"I don't know how to feel, Noah. All these years I thought my father was a murderer, the worst kind of murderer. I lost him when I was 4, and now I have him back. I have him back in a way that changes everything, and I can never tell him."
"He knew."
"It helps to have that, to hold on to that." She tightened her hand on his as they moved into the trees. "I didn't run. I didn't leave him. This time I didn't run and hide. I can live with all the rest because this time I didn't run."
"Liv, you gave him exactly what he wanted at the end of his life. You looked at him and you knew him. He told me that was the last thing he needed. She nodded, absorbing that into the grief.
All my life, I loved my uncle. I shifted him into my father figure, admired him, trusted him. He wasn't what I thought he was, any more than my father was what I thought he was. Oh, God. God, Noah, how is Aunt Jamie going to cope with this? How is she going to live with it?
She has you, your family. She'll get through it.
I hope she'll stay here, for a while at least. Stay here and heal.
I think she needs to hear you say just that.
She nodded again and leaned against him a little. You're good at knowing what people need to hear. She let out a sigh. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to come in here again and feel what I've always felt. But I can. It's so beautiful, so alive. No monsters here.
Not ever again.
I love this place.
It had sheltered her, given her life. Now she had a choice, to stay with the old or to start the new. She let go of Noah's hand, turned in a circle.
But there's this other spot along the coast, heavily wooded, excellent old forest with a view of the Pacific raging up against the cliffs.
She stopped, met his eyes soberly.
That's where we should build the house.
He stared at her while a rage of emotions gushed into him, then settled in quiet joy. How many bedrooms?
5, as previously discussed.
Okay. Stone or wood?
Both.
Her lips twitched. Her eyes glowed now as he nodded and stepped toward her. When?
As soon as you ask me to marry you, which you've neglected to do so far.
I knew I'd forgotten something. She laughed when he hauled her into his arms. I've waited a long time for you. He brushed his lips over hers, then lingered, deepened the kiss. Don't make me wait any more. Marry me.
Yes.
She framed his face with her hands.
Between the forest and the flowers. And soon.
She smiled at him, drawing him close to touch her lips to his cheeks.
I love you, Noah. I want to start a life with you. Now. We've both waited long enough.
We hope you have enjoyed our presentation of River's End by Nora Roberts, copyright 1999 by Nora Roberts, and performance copyright 1999 by Brilliance Corporation, all rights reserved. For further information concerning this program or other Brilliance audio titles, please call the following toll-free number, 1-800-222-3225. No part of this recording may be played for an audience or reproduced in any form without written permission. Address all inquiries to Brilliance Corporation, Post Office Box 887, Grand Haven, Michigan, 49417.
Audible hopes you have enjoyed this program.